let you play and just say goodnight. And now I'm beside myself, don't want your fucking help. Let me just go, let me just go. And don't you lie to me and say it's all okay when it feels like I'm drowning. I hate to say goodbye, but it's time to go. All I need
welcome to the NACE Star League studio. You are currently joining us on this lovely April 2nd for two very important Overwatch matches. We are in the NACE Star League postseason, and Boise State is getting ready to go up against the Blinn College Buccaneers in the NACE Star League postseason round of 16. We can really not overstate how important this match is. And by we, I mean me, your host, Jacob Palmer, and I'm joined by Rich Rad right now, joining us live on stream. Thank you very much for joining us. And boy, I really can't overstate how important this match is. I mean, this could end the Broncos' whole NACE Star League season right here, right now.
Absolutely, and we get a lovely little cameo of Doc right there standing in for me with a name bracket. We just got a sidestep for that hot moment to recognize that. But yes, I agree. The stakes are extremely high here and cannot wait to see how this match is going to unfold. Again, a lot at stake here, and I can't wait to see how this NACE tournament is going to continue unfolding and what Boise's going to bring today to make sure that they can claim a victory.
Well, it's not just the fact that Blinn is a tough opponent because we're in the postseason. In terms of the seeding and ranking, NACE Star League ranked Boise State at 10 and Blinn is at 7. So this is a match that if NACE Star League rankers are to be trusted, they would have a slight favor toward Blinn. However, we know the Broncos have been in tough situations before. We'll see if they can rally through as we see them on stage right there. And as they get ready to head into the match, we can give them a few last-minute pointers in the form of Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch 2, and that's going to be to take fights in unexpected places. Don't make positioning mistakes. Win your 1v1s and win your fights before objectives. It's all brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you are new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. All right, Rich Rad, we have gotten the confirmation. We are going to be starting out on Lejeune Tower. Familiar first sight for the Broncos.
Yes.
A stage they have had glorious moments. I mean, four-man Lucio Boop, you cannot say anything more, but I'm probably not going to have that sky-in-the-high expectations in a postseason match like this. So if we're talking just bread and butter of the key things Boise State needs to do on Lejeune, what are the main bullet points that are map-specific for round one?
Well, I mean, map specific, I mean, the way that they've been playing this map specifically when it comes to their positional advantage and understanding how to enter in onto the point is very significant. Also, depending upon what the composition is, I've been seeing even recently in some competitive where it's, you know, a lot of this Pharah that might be brought into the mix, this type of elevated play with an Echo that's also there for flanking maneuvers to recognize that type of high ground advantage or looking for that execution opportunity. But even when it just comes to overall, like not only just map specific, like you mentioned, the stakes here and specifically who their opponent is going against, that this is going to be a map that Boise plays very confidently. So if they're allowing themselves to stay very even keel, keeping themselves in the positive mental state and the way that they've been playing historically that you and I have been able to see weeks prior, I think that they're going to come out really strong here. And if they do actually clutch out and manage to gain this first map, that's a big morale boost for them to have success throughout this series.
Boise State is certainly standing amongst Titans. This is the round of 16. We have two hemispheres of the bracket with 8 teams apiece, if you will. And in Boise State's half of the bracket, there are some very tough opponents. St. Clair, UTD is waiting in the wings, as well as Blinn College, as we're going up right now. In the other half of the bracket that might meet them if Boise State makes it all the way to the grand finals, we've got Maryville and Fisher and RIT, all the names that Boise State is quite used to playing against in the postseason. And the times that they have taken home the whole championship, they have gotten upset wins against higher-seeded teams. They're just going to have to do it multiple times going forward in this bracket if they want to get to the grand finals. But one game at a time, one stage at a time, and we are going to be ready to head into Lejeune Tower here. Boise State going up against Blinn College, the Buccaneers versus the Broncos here in the NACE Star League postseason round of 16, where Boise State make their way to the quarterfinals or has their NACE spring run ended. We're going to find out in a few minutes, heading on down to Lejeune. And of course, with this beautiful overview that production has so lovingly assembled for us, we get one last chance to recap all the three main stages that could be up for grabs, starting with what we see here in Night Market.
Yeah, Night Market, again, I personally think is one of those just really enticing ones because it has a lot of spatial crowd coverage and like area denial. Same thing with Gardens as well, and we get to go on it too. Look at that. I have the foresight of a legend.
Serendipity.
As we're going to be entering it onto this, and again, it's really about that initial dive onto the point. Are you going to be getting there before your opponent and really hold off on those choke points, whether it's the doorway, watching the window, seeing if there's a flanking angle that can come through from that side position. But again, you leave yourself more vulnerable due to the environmental segment of it. Symmetra has always been that leading character selection into this so that you can get that teleport through the upper window, which we get from this vantage point. But we'll see how it continues to come out here as we do not actually, yeah, we do. We do get it at least onto Boise State, and they'll get the point advantage first.
They get onto the point with plenty of time to spare. Now comes that section right afterward. Got to make sure that you hold it. Watch those flanks for anyone who could be poking. I'm looking at you, Sky Sniper, on that tracer. See if Boise can catch out. I mean, look over right. I called it out and right over. Trying to get into Boise State's backline. Has already taken out the immortality field. Trying to get into the back of Plato. He's not going to fall. Gets a few shots onto Sky Sniper. And Plato is the first down. I called it. I saw it. And that's the way it is. Blinn College up 1 now. Up 2. Matt Merck is following. Boise State still trying to hold on to this point. But Blinn College is doing a great job contesting. Has a huge advantage. And I think they got the first fight.
Yeah, and Sky Sniper being so monumental in that backline harassment with the Tracer, unfortunately could not be negated for that early portion of this. Plato doing very well to try and stifle it themselves with that damage going into the Century form, but unfortunately has to opt now to go onto this Sojourn to see if they can get these one-shot hit clip potentials with that rail onto the backline. Just like that!
I tell you, Rich Rad, we are calling things out today, and they are just happening right afterwards. It's like reverse Caster Thursday, but in a good way. Sky Sniper lands the post bomb, though, onto Chosen. Plato evens it out with a pick onto Clear. 7 will be taken out by Plato. With the tank gone for Blinn College, Boise State has taken back the point for themselves. We got a bit of a railgun fight between the two Sojourns trying to one-up each other, but the important thing is Boise State has the point and has tied the game up overall.
Absolutely, they've been able to surpass the percentage, which is massive. The biggest thing they need to be concerned about is the 2 ultimates that are available and online here for Blinn and how they're going to utilize it. It's an easy swap back due to the reduction in numbers that Boise State had as they attempt to enter back into this.
Boise State's starting to get a few ultimates of their own online. They do have the amplification matrix suspended right away to contest. Kitsune Rush used in response by Blinn. Immortality field forced out by Boise State. Sky Sniper wreaking havoc against the Broncos. Gets a double, making a triple. Firing through the vast majority of the team. Clear is the only one left to tank by himself and has to strategically head off the end to regroup.
And again, utilizing only the Kitsune Rush was really, really well done by Blinn. They can carry now over 4 into this, which they'll soon have Sky Sniper, who has been such a thorn in Boise State's side. There are a few ultimates, though, coming online here for Boise State to really utilize tempo control, whether it's going to be a large bagel or entering in with the overclock.
Photon barrier to start things out. Pulse bomb thrown out. Finds its way onto Plato. Chosen even things up. Gets revenge back onto Sky Sniper. Matt Burke also takes out 7. That's huge. The tank gone for Blinn College. Boise State has a real big chance of taking back the point. They will do so. There's just a few left trying to stagger it out. They'll take out Zaydu and Hutch and get the point. I believe they only had to spend 1 ultimate to do so.
Yeah, the Photon Barrier was so well placed, and realistically, the fact that Matt Merck being on this Symmetra where there's so much going on can just stand behind that wall safely to continue generating that damage is what really starts to disintegrate the health of 7. Not able to take that frontline brunt damage in addition to that also follow-up from Clear and Chosen, so now they're in a good position and have equalized on the ultimate economy.
Trying to look through all the flank routes. Matt Merck here keeps the left and right before he focuses on to 7. With the help of Plato, melts him right down. Sound barrier comes out as the Gravitic is popped by Boise State. Overclock also being used by Plato. Can he land any of these right clicks, especially onto Sky Sniper? Zaydu is making it hard for him, getting pressure onto Matt Merck. That means Plato is the only DPS left as Boise State is rounding up past 80%. They have spent all of their ultimates with Blinn College ready to recontest. A javelin thrown out onto Plato. Kitsune Rush for the retake. Boise State has to hold right here, right now. Madmer going on health is healed up. Amplification Matrix comes on as Terror Surge is popped. Sky Sniper lands it onto Chosen. It's traded back onto Zaidu. Clear still from Plato by a sliver of a health is healed up. And Boise State is hanging on for dear life, but Blinn College has taken the point back for themselves. The respawn has to come in here for Boise State on this retake.
Bagel knows how to escape the very clutches of death, and now as they come back into the 99 overtime, it's one last chance, and they've got the Ant Matrix.
They throw it down to start things out. Clear moving his way onto the point. It is a solid contest. They're trying to flank from behind. Boise State throws down their Immortality Field. Amplification Matrix. Sky Sniper continuing to be torn for Boise State. Picks out their support. Lands a pulse bomb onto Plato as well. He was the first to get a pick in this fight. Got first blood. It just might be last blood as now Boise State loses the team fight and Blinn College will take the objective, get the first round in.
That was a wicked brawl between the two of them at the end of that. I mean, really, really tooth and nail. The ultimate economy equalized at that moment, and then when you start to see things get a little bit dire, and again, Sky Sniper really finds those key moments, and that's, I think, being the real challenge for Boise State. There was quick recognition of this, though. Matt Merck responding to it, Plato as well, looking to try and harass and force back this Tracer play, but in those last dire moments, there's enough chip damage that even with the attempt of throwing the pulse bomb, it doesn't actually land onto the Sojourn, but it's close enough that the explosion radius just gets enough damage to remove Plato from the equation, and they desperately need that throughput damage and that quick generation of the rail shot that's been constantly aiding them for Boise State as we enter now into center, and it's quick engagement in the neutral.
Also see talking about Brawley. Boise State has gone over toward the Reaper for some short-range damage, swapped over to the Zarya for the tank. They use the Symmetra teleport to get up to server room first. They can try to leverage that to rotate onto point, but Blinn College has already positioned themselves there. Teleport up to the ledge. Can he pick anyone up from here? They wisely step down. All this rotation, the teams are counterplaying each other, trying to find the right flank. Sky Sniper and Hutch landed onto Bagel and Plato. Clear takes care of 7 though, and Shidu, and it's the tank diff coming through in the first fight. Clear takes out Blinn College's tank and gets the point for Boise State.
Oh, that was so nutty, but that's a rail onto 2 there, instantly out the gate towards the end of this fight, where you completely see this turn on its head. But it's still, again, Boise State gaining percentage here. That's the most important part. They're going to try and buy as much time as they can, get the staggers that are necessary so that Clear can get back here and actually aid this so they can continue to generate this percentage.
I think they're out of stagger territory. Clear comes in. They're ready for a full-on team fight. No ultimates for either team, so it's a pretty dry fight as far as that's concerned. Clear going very low on health, forces out the Immortality Field to keep him alive. Jadu lands a boost onto Matt Merck, taking out a huge run for Boise State's damage. They're going to try to focus down 7. Or Hutch behind there, forcing out the Suzu to keep him alive. And nice Suzu keeping Blinn College in the game. Trying to find some sort of flank up through server room. Gets a whole lot of damage onto their Sojourn, but can they actually land the kill? Sky Sniper gets the pick onto Clear. A large Bagel taken out by their Lucio. And Boise State, at around the 60% mark, loses the point for the first time this match.
Still, but the fact that you had both Matt Merck and Plato rounding the center column there, really just consistently keeping that in contention is so vital. Blinn, again, is going to have a full stack of ultimates here since Boise State did have to contribute, but if you force out a few ultimates from Blinn here to try and equalize, especially with the Death Blossom coming up and a grab, that's a good opportunity for a long-run strategy to allow Boise State to be able to take this and bring it into a round 3.
Plato holding on to this pulse bomb, trying to find a prime target to sway this fight. And any target's a good one with how many ultimates Blinn College has. They're going to use the first one. Kitsune Rush, try to keep Boise State as bay. They also use the beat as Raptor Surge is stuck. They're going to throw the pulse bomb out, and they fell down to Rico. Large Bagel has to spend his sound barrier as well to keep Boise State alive. Blinn College still holding on to 2 ultimates, but Clear piling up the eliminations onto 7. Shadu, and now Sky Sniper's out of the mix. Boise State takes it back.
Wow. Only having to use 1 ultimate for support-wise to counteract against this, the grab really does lock them down and give Boise State the opportunity to take this back. And the fact that Hutch goes down so early is massive. You lose the immunity, you lose the healing, and solely have to rely on the Lucio as they enter back into this. This is last fight for Blinn.
Lands against Clear, taking him down to low health. He's trying to bubble his way through it. Immortality field, and the Terror Surge right on to Clear. I can tell that one was personal. Tank v tank. And Blinn College looking like they're going to take this back.
No.
Archmago doing all he can to stagger this out. And Plato is still alive, going to try to blink around the point. Doesn't find it. And Blinn College takes the point back and has to hold on to it for dear life.
I'm so curious if there is going to be a negative repercussion from this ultimate usage. Matt Merck, in the very, very end of that, uses the Death Blossom, doesn't get the value, and since you also lost the Ant Matrix from Chosen, you solely have to rely on a Pulse Bomb here, potentially the Sound Barrier, if they can get it in time. Things are going to be very interesting to watch, especially as Hutch is going to near that Kitsune Rush and most likely have it for this final fight.
Guy Sniper has the Pulse Bomb as well as Plato. The Tracer's looking to make a move as the bubble goes onto the ledge. Boise State trying to split up Blinn College. Divide and conquer. 7 taking a good bit of damage, as does Clear. Being healed out by their tanks, though. Boise State would love to find a support, but instead, Clear bites the dust, followed by Matt Merck. And I don't think Plato, with just his Pulse Bomb, can hold this out. Boise State, I think they'll have just enough time to respawn, but only just.
It's going to be so challenging because, I mean, Plato's at least going to have the dash. They've got 15 seconds now to get back into this. A large Bagel needs to get the speed boost to jump with the rest of the team, but the denial is here. The Kitsune Rush is active, as I mentioned, for this final engagement, and will they be able to persevere through it?
Matt Merck is trying to rate form his way through. They have gotten the touch, but Sky Sniper has made him pay a hefty toll for it, taking out Matt Merck on point. Boise State gets another touch and is having to fight one person down as Terror Surge is spent, and the Sound Barrier to keep Blinn College alive. And that's such a huge Pulse Bomb being thrown onto Chosen and a large Bagel. Boise State falls in the second map. They'll lose Lijon again. Another 199 scoreline.
That should, again, this talks back a little bit to, oh, googly eyes, that's right, I forgot about that. That just makes it that much better, no matter who wins. But to your point of saying it's the 7th and 10th place, these teams are very, very closely matched when we look at the spectrum of individuals and schools that are in this later portion. And with the way that realistically Boise State has been playing, they know how to counteract this team. It's just unfortunate that Sky has really been that slippery on this Tracer and still getting a lot of value. If Boise State is able to find that subtle weak point to get that early pick onto the Tracer or stifle the amount of pressure that they're putting onto them, that's extremely important for them to be able to turn this around, because if Sky is continuing to get this type of value on the Tracer, that's where things are going to get really, really complicated for Boise State when we look at the bigger picture of what these next maps are going to have.
I was looking at the history that Blinn College was fighting through in the regular season to get to this point, and they have had a true trial by fire. They've gone up against Fisher, Maryville, St. Clair, RIT, UT Dallas. I mean, my goodness, going up against the top of the top, and it's clearly showing off. They have gotten the first point on Lijiang Tower, so if you're going to want to get your way toward the best, you got to fight the best. And congrats to Blinn for not only facing such a tough regular season, but showing through in the postseason. But now Boise State goes on to hybrid, and normally things are a foregone conclusion here as to what stage is chosen. But Boise State has the choice of stage, and normally things are a little bit more of a done deal in terms of predictions when the other team is choosing. Boise State has sometimes brought out curveballs in terms of what they choose on hybrid.
I mean, realistically, Kings Row is the biggest one that we see. I would not find it surprising at all to go back to Kings Row for hybrid, because that is a map that they play so well. And realistically, anyone and everyone is ready for it. But again, it really leans into how they're going to counteract against the strengths that have been placed against Boise and really be able to turn that around. I'm going to really focus on the high ground positioning for the support plays, whether it's going to be the Ana, the Baptiste, or, you know, any sort of backline significant assistance, even with Iliari in some cases that individuals have been working that into the composition. I don't really think that that would be one that they'd lean into, but that is still something that's viable, and how that Tracer is going to weave through to be able to compete against that back line.
Boise State making a couple of adjustments as trying to read some tea leaves, but the screen is just too bright and the glare is too big for me to make any sort of call what Boise State might be choosing. So we're still going to have to be left in the dark. I would think if they are going to choose something different, they might bring out Eichenwald. They have had some luck on that stage, and it has been a favorite second choice here in the NACE Star League for the past academic year, both last fall and this spring. But yeah, if you want to just kind of guarantee that you're going to have just sort of an even keel footing, there's no chance that they're going to have to outpractice you on this stage. It is going to be Kings Row. But I do have to also wonder, just because Sky Sniper is such a threat, if Kings Row is brought into the equation, how much Boise State, because normally Kings Row, it has a very prominent choke in front of the statue, but I'm going to be looking off toward theater the whole time, or any route off to the side that Sky Sniper could abuse if that is the stage.
Well, and that's the big thing that you have to really be aware of, is the communication that's going to happen from Boise State, and really keeping tabs on where this tracer is and how you're going to counteract it, which again might be something where they might opt to go for the Ana, where you do have this opportunity of getting that bio nade or looking for a potential sleep to lock down that tracer, or if you stick with the Baptiste, which is still something very strong in the wheelhouse that comes out from Boise State with the immortality field, looking to redirect where that focus damage is coming in to have to get rid of the lamp. So it's all about allocating the resources and communication from Boise to be able to bring down this really unfortunate kryptonite factor. And you even mentioned as well, going against such high level teams, it's almost like the forging of the blade. It's where you just continuously work it over and over and over again to where these skills become so prolific. And going against Boise State and now being able to take the advantage like this, they're going to continue to do so until otherwise diverted into a different composition or to have to take alternative action.
There are two prime targets really have been Sky Sniper, just in terms of the obvious, always harassing Boise State's backline, but also when Boise State has managed to get quick picks onto the Kariko or the Baptiste or any of those support heroes that can do the, you know, those get out of jail free, the Suzu, the immortality field. Then they manage to melt down Blinn College's tank very fast. And if there is one thing I gotta say that I would put in Boise State's pocket, I think that if Clear's going head-to-head up against their tank, if that tank doesn't have any support, then I would put money down that Clear is probably going to win every single time. So it's really made, how can we get those supports out of the equation? That's been a key factor in whether Boise State wins these team fights or not.
Yeah, and again, Clear being such a really recognizable force on a front line like this, it's really how all of the other cogwheels are going to maneuver around it and help support that. Is there going to be enough damage that comes out again from Blinn where they're able to deny the shield placement or just completely take it down if we do get to see the ram? Sigma's also a rare occasion. We haven't really seen it as much, but I know that that's also something within the wheelhouse. And even in some of the collegiate play, I've been seeing Reinhardt kind of thrown into the mix here. I don't foresee that, but there's, you know, always these wild changes to try and take a unique spin to it. But Clear is someone I'm going to keep a watchful eye on as well, and how those cooldowns are managed, especially when it comes to the mitigation with that alternative nemesis form, and just really being able to coordinate himself with the rest of the team to deny entry onto that initial point.
We've gotten the confirmation that it is indeed Kings Row for Hybrid. So that means the only choice that Blinn has to make in this scenario is going to be whether they attack or defend first. I'm leaning a little bit more toward they decide to defend first. I mean, if they're able to take the sails out of Boise State, I think you really kind of set it up when we were starting Lejeune, when you were saying, you know, it's kind of that deal of you want to get some sort of victory in your pocket. When you're going up a team that's higher ranked against you, you want to get that, yeah, we can do this, we belong here. And I would think if I'm Blinn and I'm trying to be all sneaky and get in their psychology, holding them on defense or keeping them from that initial 3 points would just be a great way to deflate any sort of momentum.
I mean, at the same time, though, you have to look at it where if Boise is able to take the advantage and start to really snowball this, because we've seen that. We've seen where if Boise State does just get that upper hand and gain that point quickly through the streets phase, they can really move through it lightning fast. Not on all cases that we've seen it, you know, these past few weeks, you and I, but there have been a few that really stand out where it can just make you almost feel like there's no ability to stop this ever-growing avalanche in front of you. And that can be just as debilitating as this Moira skin.
We'll just have to wait a little bit longer. But I really got to say, if there's any stage where it really comes down to a question of how big of a start whoever's attacking first is going to get, then it is going to be Kings Row, because we've seen feast and we've seen famine on Kings Row. It's either a hold near statue or going all the way toward the Omnic factory. In streets, I could probably count on my hand how many times Boise State has been kept at streets. If they get the first payload, it's usually a long, drawn-out fight to the very end.
Yeah, and also, too, teams have been really understanding how to hold either just at the archway choke point or even just around bookstore. Like, being able to anchor at those two key points have been so significant for draining a lot of that time in the bigger picture and understanding. And that's the other part that, is something I'm keeping a watchful eye of, too. We talk so heavily about the Tracer. When you get into that streets phase, there's so many different alleys that you can take, whether it's the low ground to the left-hand side from a defender's position, or you're going to take that upper high ground where you can channel through that bridgeway. And there's just a lot of really functional outlets for this Tracer to take the advantage and really catch the defense off guard.
Not only is this a very important season for Boise State just in terms of that it's postseason and Boise State wants to do well in the championship phase, but if you look at the roster for Boise State, as things happen in the collegiate sphere, players rotate out as they graduate, and we've got 4 varsity players from the Overwatch squad graduating this year. So when it's a last chance for players like Kel, for players like Moose to get on the board, this really means a lot to them in terms of a tournament. It's going to be their last semester that we see them up on stage before us right here.
And that's one of those things that's so unique, I feel, when it comes to collegiate. Like, not to say that there hasn't been, like, player adjustments when we look at, Overwatch League when it was still what it was, or even when we look at, the World Championship Series, or when we even look at now the present form of Overwatch competition in Tier 1. There's always this adjustment, but when you have these individuals for such a long time, even in 4 years of consistent partnership with one another, having to lose a member that they've become so synergistic with, and to then bring in this new lineup of players, that's so much not only on each other to understand how to acclimate and in some regards improv with the newer individuals as they send off, but it's also a lot of credit when we talk about individuals like Doc, who is overseeing all of this, constantly having to, I don't want it to seem like revolving door is maybe not the right word for it, but just this consistent turnover because of individuals advancing through their education and then moving into adulthood, and knowing how to handle these individuals and work with them to elevate them and to make them not only better players, but also more esteemed individuals in the academic realm. So that's just another thing too to always really admire just from the collegiate sphere in and of itself, because of those ever-changing components of this competition.
And it's sort of two sides of the same coin, because you're sorry to see veteran players go, but you're also excited at all the new talent that's being brought in. I don't know if you have heard, Rich Rad, but Boise State in the past few weeks announced they're signing Cannon Miller from Little Rock, Arkansas to join their Overwatch team. He's better known as Strider, who's been in Overwatch contenders in the past. So there's constantly new talent, very big name talent as well, joining the Broncos. So it always looks forward to a bright future. But let's also hope that the present can be pretty good as well, and Boise State can take this back and at least guarantee us a Game 4.
And again, with those that are playing and in their last final stages of their education, that's why they want to put it all on the line here. It's these moments that they can really lavish in and hold for, extended periods of their life, where they can recognize the type of competitive play and everything that they've learned here, not only just from, esports in general, because we talk so much about, like there's traditional sport, there's esports. There's so many different facets that correlate between the two when it's for team building, whether it's for having these individuals learn how to, at high rates, function at such a high rate, and having that quick thinking and problem solving. And there's so many different aspects that contribute into their education as they do transition into adulthood and going out and venturing to whatever degree that they might be focusing on specifically.
And just a full showcase of kind of the diversity of the student body as well. A lot of people would think, esports, probably a lot of computer science majors. And yes, that's the case, but also kinesiology, business administration, communication, media production. It's the full range and gambit of everything Boise State offers that's reflected in their varsity team. So it really does feel like you are cheering on the entirety of the university when you got just students from a little bit of everything being brought together to compete for the blue. That's enough reminiscing from us right now, though, because now is the time to start off. Athena counts on down, and the gates open. Attacking team is going to be going through theater first, or at least some of their flankers, as we do see it's going to be a battle cattle showdown. Both players on the Orisa for their tank. And Clear already trying to get an outflank through Hotel, landing some picks onto Hutch. Hutch is going to have to blink on out of there. But Boise State already trying to kind of outdo Blinn in the backline game.
Well, and this is where the role shift happens, where Clear attempts to go onto the DPS, and Matt Merck takes up that tank role, which we've seen them do many a times before. And honestly, the way that you've got Boise State be able to move through here, taking the opposing side to stabilize so they can re-enter onto Blinn is really important, but Matt has to stay alive, unfortunately, as the pickups come through.
It was good that Plato was with Matt to provide him support, but in terms of healing, there isn't much to go around, especially when Sky Sniper's right in your face, takes out Matt Merck. That's going to be the first fight held for Blinn College. Boise State, though, still 3 minutes in their pocket, plenty of time to start the ball rolling.
Javelins whizzing by, and this TVT is something I'm really excited to see, and how Clear is going to be able to step up against Sky Sniper. You can already see them flanking around the back and attempting to chase up the stairway.
They are in a hot pursuit. Plato is following in tow, trying to land a final blow with that magnetic grenade. Chosen hanging on for dear life, manages to heal back up, allowing Boise State to fight this at full team straight. Kitsune Rush spent by Blinn College, keeping the Broncos at bay. And 7, you can see he's getting up on the high ground too. Blinn is being very cognizant of all the times Boise State is trying to flank him.
These Javelins are wild by 7, able to land quite a few of them, as we're going to be able to see now once again already half the time bank down. Boise State has not been able to crack the code just yet, but they have to be aware of Sky Sniper and 7 with their ultimate economy.
Trying to land a few picks from on top of Hotel. Landing it in, Plato very low on health, forcing out the Immortality Field, but they have made their way onto point. They're going to throw down the application matrix, but Sky Sniper is just terrorizing Boise State. 7 also on fire with the Terror Surge, gets Plato. Matt Brook is able to trade that out. Now he'll use his own Terror Surge, but he gets taken out while he uses it. Boise State has about 1 or 2 left. They still got a large bagel. I don't know if that's going to be enough for them to take back this point.
I mean, a large bagel's bobbing and weaving right now to get the knockback. The biggest thing is they can't afford to lose anybody else. The spawn advantage is here for Boise State, but Hutch and Zaitu are going to be able to turn this around.
That was a huge pick right there. It keeps Boise State from re-engaging on a full team fight. They've swapped up their tank strategy. They're going on to the Winston instead. We'll see how their first push with that goes, as there's a lot of grouping up around Hotel, but Boise State is going to move their way around Statue, jump up to the high ground, trying to flush out any of these supports or long-range DPSs that like to hide up here. Plato takes a shot with the rail gun, has to rely on the healing orb to survive. Oh man, my heart skipped a beat there, but he manages to survive. But the DPS from Blinn College, especially Sky Sniper, is constantly pushing threats onto any member of Boise State that dares step out of line. With the Kitsune Rush and Zaitu with the railgun shot, Boise State falls yet again as 7 picks up another double.
That was a buzz cut for how close that was with that rail shot to almost get the elimination, and now it's 20 seconds. It's the final moments for Boise State. This pulse bomb has to be perfect. Needs to eliminate either Zaitu or a support. Either is critical here.
Already that long-range shot from Zaitu is raining down on Clear. Has to go in, pick up the health pack, is able to get the touch on ward point. Boise State is being chased, but they've got 7 out all alone. They're trying to surround. They've gotten half health up, throw the bomb out. Aren't going to be able to land it, but it's traded back with the overclock on the Matt Merck. Both tanks gone for both teams, and Boise State trying desperately to get this point. They can't afford to C9 this. Not here, not now. They're almost on their way to the first tick. That disruptor shot already gets a pick onto a large bagel. Blinn College also has the sound barrier to keep them alive for just a few more seconds. Boise State is also trying to stay alive with their ultimates. Coalescence trying to keep Plato alive with this overclock to land a choice pick. Matt Merck has come back. You mentioned earlier the spawn advantage. That has played a big role in Boise State fighting on the point as a team. Suzu's been forced out as they come back in with the Terror Surge to take it back. Are you kidding me? In spectacular fashion, Blinn College has held Boise State, not even getting the payload.
That last 33% is where everything gets so challenging because, again, the spawn advantage gives, especially when you've got the Winston, you've got such a gap close to get back onto the point. But the problem is 7 is so close to the Terra Surge because they don't actually get to use it before this fight, and they get picked up by the Pulse Bomb. They'll have it towards the end of it. So when you're in an overtime where if you leave that point for a fraction of a second, it's going to vanish because of how long it's been in contention. So 7 has free use of this, and if anybody jumps off, that's still a win condition despite them wanting to bring them into the pull for the Terra Surge.
Really a heads you lose, tails I win situation for Blinn. Now Boise State facing a heck of a defense if they want to keep Blinn at bay. And if this round is lost, it will have to be a full reverse sweep for Boise State if they want to stay in the NACE Star League. Probably one of the most challenging defenses the team is facing this year, now right in front of them.
And we'll be able to see if they can outmatch, because again, when it does come at least on this defensive side, they have basically the mark set for them. They know exactly what they need to do with the time that is given to be able to keep themselves alive in this. And again, tall task nonetheless. We'll see what they do as they come out the gate here. You can see defensively, it's going to be Matt Merck still residing on the Orisa, and Chosen, they're going to opt to go onto the Kiriko.
Also a little bit nervous. Okay, Sky Sniper took kind of the traditional first peek on the Widow, see if he could get anybody. Doesn't get the first shot, so swaps back to the old favorite of Tracer. Now Blinn College trying to take the same route Boise State took last time. We'll see if the Broncos can hold him as they're rounding the corner up onto the overlook. There, Lucio's making so much space with his speed boost, and it's gonna help. Zaydu and Sky Sniper get onto the point. But Madmer gets the first pick. A boop onto a large bagel is not gonna be enough to turn it around. Clear and Plato land a melee and a railgun shot to be able to keep Blinn College at bay for now.
That's huge. That's so important here for Boise State to be able to get this defensive hold. They only lost a large bagel, which realistically is the person with the highest mobility across this comp outside of potentially the dash or swift step that can come out from Chosen. So really, really important that they lose nobody else in this. They're slightly behind at least on the sound barrier, so they're aware of that for tempo control. But going back into this, they need to be super cautious of the flank.
7 just bodying his way through Hotel, focusing down Chosen. Like a nightmare emerging from those doors, and now without that Suzu and all that healing, Boise State struggling to maintain control of this point. Sky Sniper and Shidu landing the pick onto Clear. Kitsune Rush now spin by Blinn College, making a tough task even more difficult for Boise State. Madmer trying to maintain his position on point, but he's getting perked back. He gets taken out. Post bomb onto a large bagel. Plato's also dead. And unless Boise State can get a touch on the point, which they're going to be denied due to the Terra Surge, Blinn College takes it in round 2, Kings Row.
See, this is where they start out so strong. They get that pick. Everything is like lined up and ready to go for them. But then once you have that Tracer v Tracer underneath, and then you get that swift step to have it be a 2 versus 1 against Clear, and you then draw so much attention away elsewhere, it just becomes so problematic. And the eliminations, unfortunately, just on the support line continue to end up coming through. So now it's going to be on a match point here for Boise State, where they're going to have to go for this full reverse sweep at the moment. Again, it's a tall task, but we've seen Boise State be pushed back into a corner and the ferocity come out when it's absolutely needed.
They're going to have to move on to Flashpoint and claim the win here. Only 2 options, and I can tell you for sure, I know Boise State doesn't really favor New Junk City at all, so it is probably going to be a slam dunk Servasta. They played this many a times before, but usually in a position when they're at match point. I haven't seen too much Boise State having to fight with their backs against the wall going into this stage.
And that's the thing, is since you don't find yourself in a position like that as often, are you ready to make some critical adjustments to be able to have that type of, I guess, just power to push back into this, since you have been able to play very, very well against a lot of other opponents. Now you find yourself against the wall attempting to understand that fight or flight moment, and will there be enough within you to be able to take out those very key members of your opponent and finding those weaknesses to exploit.
We've been talking so much about how crucial it is to get that first pick, that first crucial pick onto Sky Sniper or one of the supports for Blinn. But it's not only first pick, first fight, but first flashpoint as far as Hervasta is concerned, and the advantage it gives your team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's huge from that neutral fight, because you can basically try to set up for every rotation after that. Of course, there is, a little bit of the RNG. We've gotten to talk about this a couple of times since we see this map very often when it comes from Boise State, where you can just get a little unlucky whether or not you do take the point or you lose the point of those 4 exterior options that can present themselves. So curious how that's going to unfold here, and I would love to see this initial neutral be claimed by Boise State, not only just to try and get the advantage early, but also just the morale boost. I think that's going to be really important for them after going in these very unfortunate first 2 maps.
And that's just kind of the way it's shaken out in terms of NACE Star League is if you win the first fight, that's placed a lot of the teams that's won the first round in such a big position, because with the next 2 modes being hybrid and flashpoint, with very little chance for a team to kind of pull an off strategy or have an ace up their sleeve, it's put the team that's won the first fight in the driver's seat to get a sweep in the vast majority of the matches that we've seen this season. Boise State is going to have to stop that and make our way on toward push, which I do believe we saw one time before. We saw them go on to Coliseo a few weeks ago, but we haven't even seen it go on to Escort, so it'll have to be the first time, at least I see this season, that they do that. They want a chance to win this.
Yeah, it's exciting, though, to see push. I mean, that Coliseo was a great map to take a look at when it came to Boise State and the way that they perform, but not wanting to get too ahead of ourselves, because Saravasa is going to be this final moment where Boise State has to flip the switch. As we can see through a lot of these replays, there's moments that work very, very well for Boise State, but then there are some that just kind of escape their grasp. A couple of really great picks coming out from Zaitu, or if Sky Sniper is continuing to be taking advantage of Boise State. And again, it's moments like this first real engagement as we're looking at the replay, being able to get those rail shots from Plato onto Sky Sniper and deny a lot of that incoming damage from the Sojourn from Blinn as well. So being able to keep those DPS in check is utterly crucial.
Giving a quick live update on where everyone else stands in the round of 16 right now. Boise State having to pull off an upset win as far as rankings concerned, and in terms of the other matches, not a lot of upset rankings. Maryville, first seed, they won with a 3-0 sweep. Converse picks up the win against University of Kentucky. St. Clair is through with a 3-0, and Redbird Esports, third seed, gets a 3-0 as well. So Boise State really doesn't want to be the next 3-0 in what has been a very brutal round of 16 as far as the top teams are concerned.
It always gets so... It's just this almost whole different type of category when you get to the top 16. There's just this almost like ever looming like shadow behind you of like when things start to get really intense and you're fighting for, those final moments to compete against such top level teams. And as you mentioned, there's so many big names in that where we've been seeing consistently over the years that have never really faltered. They've always been like the number 1, 2, 3 seeds that have consistently dominated. But again, to also still give Boise State credit for the ability that they've been able to be within these playoff brackets, top 16, top 8, even looking at, let's say, the collegiate sphere when it comes to, ABC, the Blizzard Collegiate Series, which we're just starting as of last weekend. The group staging and going through that process of over 300, and I believe it was 38 teams, if I recall correctly, within at least that realm, for sure over 300. There could have been maybe some other last minute submissions that I didn't know of, but regardless, is that there is such a massive pool of competition, and seeing universities and schools from across the country be able to still be at that number of participants is an absolute mind-blowing figure.
Another thing to call back traditional sports, general rule of thumb is if your team's good enough to have a small number beside them on the scoreboard, it usually means they're pretty darn good. And Boise State getting themselves to be ranked 10th in the nation, it really shows just how competitive the Overwatch scene has come. They've won NACE championship in the past, And whoever wins this match has to go up. We know for sure now that in the round of 8 they'll go up against St. Clair. So whoever wins, it's really out of the frying pan and into the fire for this next match looking forward.
Hopefully it's only a good sear and a light burn, because we don't want to see some incineration here in that regard when you're jumping out of the pan.
Maybe if it's a molten core, I'm up for some incineration.
Yeah.
But anything else?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I like that. So we're going to be hopping in now, taking a look. And I'm so curious of what they're going to bring to this. Not to mention, too, if we're going to have Matt Merck stay on tank or if Clear's going to opt to swap. That's another part of this that I'm really curious of what type of direction Boise State's going to take on this, because we've been able to see these two individuals interchangeably in those roles and still play proficiently.
Boise State trying to turn things around. If they are still in the red, which they are, that means they're going to be moving with the Sigma, getting toward market just before Blinn College so they can claim the high ground on this. 7 still sticking with the Old Faithful, still sticking on that or resub. But Boise State maintain positioning as the flashpoint unlocks in 5 seconds. They'll move on to the main point. 7 taking a bit of damage, but aside from some chip damage, no major moves or flanks have been brought out. Sky Sniper going a bit low on health. Can Boise State get that very crucial first blood? They're all high on health. Who's going to move in? They're trying to focus down 7. They'll force out the Suzu by the Kariko. 7 is way off the point, and a trade back and forth onto Zaitu and Plato. Both Sojourns will go down. Boise State gets the flashpoint first, though, on positioning.
I love this high ground positioning that they're playing, utilizing Matt Merck with the teleporter, but unfortunately Sky Sniper is still being a massive thorn in Boise State's side, cleaning up almost the entire team as they enter critical health values.
3 melees in a row. I mean, not only was that just a triple, but one claim with just 3 punches. Sky Sniper definitely having the time of his life here. Odie in one fight has built up the pulse bomb. That's insane.
Yeah. Again, the contribution that Sky Sniper is putting in these engagements is absolutely astonishing. And when you're that lightning fast to generating it, in addition, you're going to have Hutch with the Kitsune Rush. Like, because that's also the other part of this, is you're recognizing that Boise State is doing a lot of damage, but they're just being able to persevere through it and have a Kitsune Rush as well.
Oh, but 7 gets taken out by Matt Merck. That's huge with the tank going for Blinn College. How much longer can they hold it? Will Sky Sniper turn it all around with the help of this Kitsune Rush? It's now Sound Barrier as well. Will Shadu use it to bail out Hutch? 7 now comes back online with the Terror Surge in tow. Boise State is able to get 2, but they aren't actually touching the point. It's still going up in favor of Blinn College as they have this high ground. Boise State drops down to contest, but Blinn College will for sure be at 99%.
Yeah, they were hoping to try and hold the ultimates here necessary to get back into this, but now you're going to have Clear with that defensiveness to try and see if they can survive.
Oh, Hutch comes right through to get Clear right as he uses Gravitic Sound Barrier. This was the one to turn it around on Lijian for Boise State, and Chosen does indeed manage to take out 7. It is overtime, and Chosen and Bagel, it's the 2 supports. They have to hold on to this for dear life, and they land the boot. Large Bagel with the double, taking out Sky Sniper. Boise State is still in this game.
Reddit Lucio plays in professional, as we've seen Bagel play before, now going to be the taxi necessary to get them back to this point quickly with already 2 heavily mobile characters. This is a really good place to be for Boise State. The biggest thing they have to fixate on is both the overclock and the pulse bomb. Again, 2 fight-winning ultimates here, and going to anchor on how Blinn contributes this.
Already one railgun shot right into Plato, forcing him to drop down and get some heals. He's going to run right into Sky Sniper, though. A lot of damage on this right side. Immortality Field has to be forced out as the pulse bomb goes into Boise State's Immortality Field. Boise State now bringing out their own overclock. Blinn has spent everything. Now can they take this back? Can they mow down 7 and win this tank battle? Boise State goes off the board. The overtime is ticking down. They come back in. Boise State does not want to C9 this right now. And they're hanging on for dear life as 7 takes out Chosen. Plato is trying to hold on, get anything against Sky Sniper, who does get down to half health, but Zaidu is just too much of a force. He lands the railgun shot. 7 also picks up Matt Merck, and with a large Bagel doing the best he can, gets a boop onto Hutch. That's not going to be enough. Blinn College, first flash for.
I know Blinn College gets this. But I have to give so much everlasting credit to Boise State. Their ability to utilize that health pack underneath with Clear and the Diva play and understanding how to get back and forth onto this point for as long as they did is absolutely commendable as they move now to Palace to see if they're able to manage to get an opportunity in this neutral before any major ultimates outside of either the Terra Surge and also potentially Hutch with that Kitsune rush.
Right up clear in the Diva has already drawn Shadu back toward his team. Kitsune rush popped against Boise State. Only has the sound barrier to defend right now. Flashpoint claimed by Blinn College, who still is holding on to their main Terror Surge. Sky Sniper also coming up on that pulse bomb. Boise State has spent their immortality POs weekend in close quarters. Suzu forced out, but Seven gets taken out with the pulse bomb, with the tank gone, and a sound barrier to keep him alive. Boise State is now charging onto Blinn, trying to pick them up, but they have very rarely been able to get team rights, and with players like Sky Sniper, it's no wonder. But he does go down there in a bit of a weird turn of events, but Boise State will take it nonetheless.
You know, Sky Sniper saying, I'm going to get you with a pulse bomb, a.k.a. nah, fam, I'm going to throw it at my own feet and send myself back to spawn.
I'm going to do what's called a pro gamer move.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta give credit, though, because Sky Sniper's been really on point with the pulse bombs, but at that one, you know, every now and again, sometimes it just don't hit the mark, and maybe it caught a shoelace.
Sometimes, hey, you got to know when to die quickly so you don't stagger. Maybe we give him the benefit of the doubt. He just found the most effective way to die quickly. All right, here we go with the next team fight. Already, Sky Sniper's so low on health, but they can't land the first pick. They're going to put Application Matrix down in this hallway, trying to push some damage onto Seven, who has gone very low on health when he doesn't have supports healing up. Immortality field forced out by Boise State as they're being pushed in from the side. Chosen having to move back, being split off from his team. And on the point, Plato's hurting for health. Self-destruct by Clear. Doesn't get anybody. He'll have to use the call mech to get back in the mech suit. Boise State holding on and has driven it toward 99%. Terror Surge comes through to take out Large Bagel. Seven drops to the overclock. And Boise State has taken out the all-important tank for Blinn College. Can they take back the flashpoint is the question now. They've got a one-up in terms of the tank, but there's Kitsune rush out Blinn College. Sky Sniper taken out by Plato. That's what we wanted to see, with Clear also getting Shadu. Boise State looks like they're going to take this second flashpoint and make things interesting.
Yo, I gotta say, I don't get to sit on a POV of a support player that often. Chosen right now makes me realize why I would never be able to play support at this caliber. It is just insane the amount of awareness and timing on the immortality fields that you have to have, and that also is something that's so vital for Boise State to be able to have sustainability on these points. I mean, Chosen was pumping. I would love to see the numbers on how much healing throughput Chosen is given to this team.
I can't even text while I'm playing a game like Sudoku and multitask at that level. With what Chosen is pulling off, these supports pull off, it just wows me every single time. Flashpoint unlocking in 2 seconds. Boise State has his Application Matrix. They are pulling down. Plato gets a railgun shot onto Sky Sniper, starting to fight off right, and they take out Seven as well. Boise State with a crucial double in the first fight is going to take the flashpoint for themselves.
Massive,
oh,
massive
and the
take here.
baby Diva melee to make sure they are not picked up. You love to see it.
This is so critical. Like, when we take a look at how you need to set up this momentum to try and get yourself back into it, Clear gonna now just need to get back into mech. They've got sound barrier to use defensively if either the pulse bomb or the overclock comes out, so they have a method of negating that, and they're already reaching this 50% marker, so they have a guaranteed opportunity of coming back into this if things look dire. So this is starting to set up and look very good from a macro perspective of how Boise State can take this to another map.
Shadu gets first blood in this fight against Matt Merck. Boise State has the self-destruct, though. Clear moves in, takes out Shadu, helping to even things out. Sound barrier spent by Boise State as well as Immortality Field, keeping them alive. But now all of these damage movements can come through in full force for Blinn College with the pulse bomb and the overclock landing onto both the Boise State support, forcing them to abandon the point.
I mean, the big thing here is you had both the offensive ultimates used. It's really just going to be both a sound barrier and 7 with the Terra Surge. Hutch most likely will get it for sure for this another fight. It's just if they're going to choose to opt to stagger one of them out and have them later towards it to carry it into the next point if they take the fight, or they want to fully contribute it, because there's going to be 2 ultimates, the Overclock and the Pulse Bomb. Matt Merck needs to hit pay dirt just like we saw Sky Sniper, but that's not what you want to see.
Oh, ambush from Shadu off to the side, and now that Pulse Bomb out of the equation.
Big counter, though.
Time, but that's a good counter by Plato. They haven't been able to trade back and forth. Now they're trying to push on to 7. It's going to force out all the defense, the Immortality Field, and 7 as well, bulking up on armor. Sound barrier as well for Blinn. They're using all the defense and healing they have. Immortality Field, sped by Boise State.
God.
Keep them alive. It's Blood. It only heads Boise State's Immortality Field, and there the Pulse Bomb goes out by Madver to take out Hutch. Boise State has gotten a 1% advantage. We'll keep it at a 1% advantage by taking out Blinn College's tank as they move back onto the point. They need you right here because it's 89%, and the overtime clock almost ticked down there. Boise State hanging in by just a millimeter of a fingernail.
Chosen does so much for this fight. Again, this is like a Chosen MVP play. Keeping it into the overtime, the Immortality Field denying the Terra Surge. Like, I can't ask for anything more from a support player like this. And Boise State is being able to withstand so much of this because of what the supports are doing. A combination of the mobility that's coming out by a large bagel, Chosen with the perfect execution on timing with the Immortality Fields, and also the healing to keep this team alive, and just the sheer evasion and mitigation that's coming out from Clear. They just have to get these couple of initial picks and not find themselves getting the short end of the stick early, because they are in such a close proximity to be able to actually take dominance more often than not.
Sky Sniper lands the Pulse Bomb onto Large Bagel. Forced out of the map. Clear has to go off to the side. That's a first team fight. That's one very much in favor of the Buccaneers. They'll claim what could be the winning point for themselves and the whole match. And as Plato is able to take out Sky Sniper, but it will be a stagger nonetheless onto the Broncos.
It's going to be really, really important how these ultimates are used. They're going to have 4 going into this one for the 5th. Shortly after, unless Matt Merck can get really close enough to get this Pulse Bomb. Plato has to be so careful, though, right now to not go down early in this fight, because they cannot afford it with 50% now for Blinn. This is going to enter into final fight territory, because the way that they've staggered him out and even land and push back Plato again.
The javelin shot from 7 all the way back on point again.
Oh,
he does it again. He is such a huge threat. Overclock comes out, and now he's bodying Plato, getting right in his face, keeping his overclock shots away from some switching. Maybe he can pick up Sky Sniper right here, but now they're all focusing to the side. He lands a shot in the air onto Shinu. Boise State is now forced out the Terra Surge by Blinn. It takes out the Immortality Field. They get rid of 7. Boise State has gotten rid of the point for Blinn College. They're using the Kitsune Rush to try to maintain control of this point. Boise State still contesting, though, looking like they're going to take it back, but there's still a few left on point they need to take out. Self-destruct just to keep them away in terms of zoning, and Boise State takes it from Blinn at 99%.
And they still keep 2 ultimates. That is so critical. Matt Merck and Chosen keep the amplification matrix and the Pulse Bomb to utilize against Blinn. They have nothing to their name, so they have to try and force out these ultimates or get a wild pick here onto Boise State. The Amp Matrix is going to give them the opportunity to neutralize this first engagement and should be able to have big shot.
Oh my goodness! The railgun shot on the Sky Sniper, and they followed up with a pick for 7. You could not have a more beautiful pair right there. Pair of aces, and Boise State's sleep helps them to win this round. They just got to win one more team fight.
And then they set themselves up for 2 more ultimates. Plato and a Large Bagel. Both of them are going to have the sound barrier and potentially the overclock that they can utilize if they get the initial damage, and Bagel plays still cautiously but aggressively to try and get that. Ooh! Checked in the face for the moment. Matt Merck says, I'm abandoning ship, and I ain't taking this fight.
Yeah, that's really a bit of an awkward personal space encounter by the 2 Tracers. Here we go. They're just trying to blink around each other. Spike goes off to the side. Plato does it again. He lands the railgun shot onto Sky Sniper. What is going on at the most crucial time? These right clicks are coming in clutch for Boise State. Another one goes on to 7, and then they fall like dominoes right after that. History repeats itself, and now we're tied at 2-all.
Last flashpoint for this map. This is the moment that Boise State is going to need to step up because the ultimates are starting to stack with Blinn now to make it an even 3-for-3. Sound barrier for some good tempo control and sustainability if something gets tossed out, especially like this Kitsune rush. But Chosen's a little bit behind here and more of an offensive support usage. So they need to be very careful in how a large bagel is going to contribute this into the fight to guarantee they get it first. And Clear gets a big pickup, though.
Right on to the Kariko, and Chu, he's on fire right now. Fresh out of Overall Championship Series and back into NACE Star League. He is making his mark. Chosen, Plato, and Matmer clean up the rest of the team. It's a team wipe for Boise State and the point taken.
Crazy. Boise State in a great position that they've been able to get this first. Because if they can get a few ultimates out of Blinn and not overcommit their own, they should be able to acquire this. It's just how are they going to get these ultimates out of Blinn and still maintain their own?
State checking all angles because there's so many pokes and they're going to throw the overclock out. Any shot could land on Boise State, but the overclock shot, the railgun shot just naturally charged by Plato, lands onto Sky Sniper. This Tracer, it has been Tracer season so far, and just that one pick is forcing Blinn College to rethink their strategy, move on back.
It's getting dire now. 4 ultimates to 4 ultimates. They need to lean in with something. The Kitsune Rush is the go button and seeing if it can work.
Kitsune Rush is the first band amplification matrix used by Boise State. They've already forced out the sound barrier. 2 sound barriers spent, 1 by each team. Now that they wear off, Boise State will have a few seconds of health advantages. They'll be used later, but no eliminations being found. Trying to focus damage as they can onto the 7. The Immortality Field forced out. It'll be taken out by Zaidu. Boise State still holding on to 2 ultimates as Blinn College has used everything but 1. They only have that Terra Surge left. They've taken back the point, but Boise State looking like they could be in a good position here to retake Servasta.
They've put themselves in a beautiful position as they go back in to see if they can take it back.
Oh, live by the sword, die by the sword, though. Plato gets taken out by the railgun shot. Oh, what allowed Boise State to take the last 2 points could prove to be their Achilles heel. But even now, they've charged up 3 ultimates, and it's just a few seconds before this to decide whether this match is going to end at just 3 or if we're going on to push.
They're going in with so much here. They gave ground on purpose, and they've been able to get out of that damage just in time as the aggression has one last opportunity with Plato.
Terra Surge used, that's the Immortality Field. They're able to burn that ultimate. They're able to take out Shizu, but a javelin lands right onto Plato, and then Chosen is taken out by Sky Sniper. 7 is gone though. That's the tank gone. Boise State can take back the point. They'll move on with their tank still up, and Clear has the self-destruct to zone out. He lands it onto Zaidu, and with overtime left, it's going to be desperation tactics. Clear still has the self-destruct, uses it on Sky Sniper, forces him back right off the point. Overtime ticking down, and that does it. Boise State takes Flashpoint, and we're moving on to Game 4.
And that's literally what Clear is banking on. Clear is banking on the rest of the ultimate economy to guarantee them getting into that overtime situation where even if the DMEC comes in, it is the self-destruct to zone everyone away. It is a absolute insurance policy that comes full throttle and guarantees that Boise State are not out of this yet. And they really rattled Blinn towards the end of this. And you can see just a little bit of that moment of release and reprieve for them as they know that that was one hell of a battle for them to fight through and that they still have 2 more ahead of them if they actually want to be able to take this.
And they've already accomplished something that all of the underdog teams this round haven't been able to do. They took a round off the other team just as that was happening. Fisher finished up their match against Mizzou, 3-0 sweep as well. So Boise State, they're the ones who can say, hey, we're the ones who are most able to stand up to the team that outranks us. And going on from here, we're on to push. By the way, I'm on no sleep, an energy drink, and things are falling apart at the seams. But I am happy to see another round if it means Boise State is still going to be competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. Myself, you know, again, it's only like an hour later by me. So like I'm in the late kind of ish hours as well, not super late, but we're going to be having this one go for a while and they're ready to get into the next map. And I'm excited that they are able to take this type of momentum in a reverse sweep moment and really start to understand what the weak points are. They found success getting rid of Sky Sniper. on 3 separate occasions through that map. And that needs to continue. Plato has to hit these shots as they have done and not get caught out, because they've been very good about being able to deny that visibility on the opponent from getting that execute onto them. Because if you can continue to have Plato in these fights, that's absolutely vital to keep pumping out that damage onto Sky Sniper and keep them in check.
And now we come to the part of the match where things are a bit of a wild card. Controllers always pre-selected, and then we have 2 that are easy to predict, but now we are into uncharted territory with push. We saw Coliseum last time. We could still see others be brought out. Esperanza being a very popular pick as well. New Queen Street exists, but we don't really talk about it too much.
Yeah.
It could be, it's still looking like sunny skies. Whether it's Coliseum or Esperanza, I think we're going to a warm place.
So here's the one thing, though, is because Boise State took that fight. So it's going to be up to Blinn to make the decision. And with the way that they've been playing Sky, I'm actually almost wondering if they would go to New Queen Street, because there's so many different avenues that you can find on a push map through there that you can really utilize the Tracer to its utmost potential. Not to say that the others are not viable with Tracer, but that one just always tended to lean into a more favorable TVT or Tracer environment that you can find these types of advantages, because of there being essentially a clear pathway through the entirety of the map, where they've got those breakpoints for the stairways that drop into the neutral, around the bend, and also towards the tail end of each of those push portions. So I'm actually going to be interested to see if they do opt to go for that, or they lean into what we've more typically seen, which is Coliseum, which, again, we got to see previously from Boise State already.
New Queen Street would be interesting because it would really test players' endurance in the fact that it can just be so difficult to get that final point, fighting uphill against a spawn disadvantage. I think if that stage is chosen, and even on Coliseum too, I've rarely seen that one capped out entirely. It's probably going to be another 10 minutes of the player's endurance being tested here coming up in the near future.
Yeah, and stamina and mental fortitude is always such a key thing here. But the fact that Boise State's been able to at least take this map on Saravasa and really, by the skin of their teeth, be able to thread that needle have been really, I think, bolstered. And again, I have to give some serious credit to Chosen. I know we talk so much about like the tank, the damage dealers, but the ability to stay in these fights, the number of Terror Surges that were denied by Immortality Field, or the sheer minimal health that remains unclear that is being sustained because of those Immortality Fields, is absolutely clutch. They are guaranteed turning point moments for Boise State to keep themselves competing against a team like this.
With ultimates such as Terror Surge, we also saw Sigma be brought out a little bit earlier, and it's kind of that rock paper scissors, that delicate dance. Do you have the sound barrier? Do you have the immortality field to be canceling that out? At least for Boise State, they've been doing a really good job in that last fight, always making sure that cooldown, whether it's the ultimate charged up or the cooldown in terms of the immortality field resetting, they've always had the resources that they've needed to shut down Blinn College's best chance at victory. It's been shutting them down both in the ultimates that can win it for them and also the players in terms of Sky Sniper.
And that's why the mechanical dynamic of Baptiste is so important, because when you mentioned earlier where you're saying, hey, you have the sound barrier for the Sigma ultimate, or you have, let's say an alternative ultimate to cover that, whatever, it's the railgun or anything. When it comes to the Baptiste, Immortality Field being a baseline ability, granted, it still has a long cooldown, don't get me wrong, but the fact is that with you being able to get that as frequent in comparison to an ultimate like from Large Bagel to counteract an ultimate, that's what's so vital about this, is that Chosen really has to be mindful, and also just the communication for the players for their ult tracking, knowing exactly when these ultimates are going to be online and available for your opponent, and understand that variable to guarantee that you have that ready to nullify anything that comes out from them. And it is going to be Coliseum. All right, I had my theory, it didn't work, so I'm just going to throw that out the window and just let that blow away like a plastic bag in the wind on a very, very hot, windy day.
Oh, well,
I don't know why I went that route. That was very, very in depth, and I got there, and we'll just
very
let that be.
oddly
My brain
specific too.
Yeah, I know, right?
There's like that's something that there's like a memory that's etched into you. Like maybe you're at a national park and your lunch blew away, and all of a sudden you're panicking. Are they going to catch me littering or something? I don't know. I'm just poking at grasping at straws here.
Because it probably did happen in my
Which
past
probably,
life.
probably the straws I'm grasping at blew away with that plastic bag, so we're both guilty in terms of the pollution. But let's move on to Coliseum, Boise State. Having a chance to drive it all the way to Game 5. It would be our first time seeing Escort if Boise State wins, and what a game, what an occasion it would be for. You can see up there the players lined up clear nearest to us. You can see Kel in the middle and then Plato on the far side. And then there's Matt Merck as well. And seeing all these players also brings up the question because we're seeing role swaps, and there's Chosen rounding out the group. We're seeing role swaps. Sometimes it's Kel, sometimes it's Matt Merck. Who's going to take the role of the tank this time?
I know, and that's what I was most curious about with Servasa, and that's where we did see the adjustment back into it. It's really, I think, becoming so key because we even got to see Clear play the diva, that more dive-centric type of nature in the play, whether it's a Winston or a diva, both of them really functioning within that role similarly. But I think that has a lot to do with what they've been able to take from their time being in that Asian region, because that is something that is so relevant, that they do like to play this very dive-centric, the Wrecking Ball, the Diva, the Winston. That's something that's always forever been within their lifeblood ever since I started even casting Chinese contenders, at least again for that Asian region so many years ago. And that's always been a fundamental for them. So seeing Clear being able to play this Diva with such dominance and being able to really understand this ebb and flow of entering and exiting into fights that give them that extra survivability is really helpful to them, because there were several occasions we saw, especially on that fourth flashpoint before the final fifth one, that makes the absolute critical difference of survivability and buying time for them to get into a fifth flashpoint.
It's kind of Boise State's version of the Forged in Fire thing, the fact that they've got Clear, who has been in this region, practicing with the pros at that level of competition. Both teams have some real good experience behind their belts. Clear with his background, and then you've got Boise State also. They've had some of their own players who have been competing in contenders every now and then. But you've just got Blinn, who again has been facing the Fishers, the St. Clairs, the Maryvilles of the world. Both these teams are battle-hardened, and a sweep is not going to be on the table for tonight. We are going to Coliseum, Game 4, where Boise State continue on what could be a possible reverse sweep, or will the Buccaneers end it right here?
The moment is now, and what a fitting place, an arena.
Yes.
As so long ago from when it first began, and now they actually get to be here in a place of battle. You have all of those, even in like those little window panes, the statues of previous warriors and combatants within a space like this, and now it's just very fitting.
I never really thought of it until I never really thought of it until now, but seeing all this high-tech integration being brought into Rome, it really gives a whole new meaning into the Eternal City. Like, this is the Eternal City.
Oh, 100%. The googly eyes.
Again, like you said, win or lose, that's our consolation. I'm happy for
Yep. To be fair, too, the fact that, I've actually not paid as much attention to, I've always seen the googly eyes on, like, the payload or on, like, the heroes, but not ever on the push bot. But it's actually perfectly fitting, and it's probably the most comical of any of the googly eye series that we've got from April 1st. So we get to lavish in it at least for a few more days until they take it away from us, and we have to wait all the way to next year to do it again.
2, 1.
And now as we enter in onto this, we get to see the competition and what they bring to the table. Compositionally, you can already see an Orisa entering in by 7, no surprise there, but Clear is going to be the tank, and we do get to see it on the Diva a second time. And I'm very excited about that, because I think that Clear really played it so beautifully in that last map that they want to continue to keep this momentum.
Robot unlocks in 3 seconds. Lancing blows being changed off to the side. It's been a battle of the Tracers. Matt Merck and Sky Sniper trying to dance around each other, trying to get in close for that early pick. Now that the bot has unlocked, though, we're going to be seeing some fighting in this narrow corridor. Bot still hasn't pushed through. Both teams just still poking.
see how long this neutral fight continues. Forcing back both the Spear Spin and the Fortifier down, so 7 is out of options for their defenses and needs to rely on their healers.
Boise State moves on back. Clear grouping up with his healers. As the first minute has gone by, Robot's still not won in either team's position. A lot of ultimates going up past 50%, but both teams are playing such mind to the flanks right now. It's a question of who falls first in that regard.
And this is what we'd see so typically in Coliseum. It really is that initial pick, but we can see it sometimes extend 3, 4, 5, even 8 minutes I've seen in this neutral position till somebody finally goes down because they don't want to risk anything here. And Boise State has so much at stake right now.
Zaidu lands the first one onto Matt Merck. Plato came alive with the railgun shots in the last round, but now it's time for Zaidu to step up for Blinn College to go down for Boise State. It's a question of how much longer they'll be able to keep this robot at bay. Not too much longer as Chosen and Clear are wiped out. Boise State has to reset.
Oh, it's so unfortunate. Again, this is where 2 minutes in, it's a lengthy neutral fight, but we start to now see what that momentum is going to gain. Already forcing out a recall here from Matt. They have to play carefully.
It also looked like it forced out a Suzu, though, from Blinn College to keep Zaidu alive. Blinn College holding on to 3 ultimates. Boise State 2 coming up on 3, though, with Chosen. They basically reset the fight, though. The robot's back in the center, but it will push forward faster for Blinn College for that first 25 meters. Boise State, we're just in a waiting game again with check marks aplenty.
Yeah, 5 banked up now here for Blinn, just shortly behind with Boise State from Clear. And again, entering into this neutral, Boise's done really well being able to get back to this fight and stifle Blinn, so they haven't gotten an extensive distance, but the overclock is active.
Stick, pulse bomb lands right onto Plato. See him also miss that railgun shot. That all-crucial snipe not coming through for Boise State. Kitsuna Rush also spent for Blinn College in that fight. They spent 2 ultimates in that fight, so they're down to 3. Boise State still holding on to 3 themselves. Clear will come online with the self-destruct himself. Even though they lost this fight, Boise State's been doing a great job of not letting Blinn get this forward spawn. And Plato lands it! I was waiting for it! He needed to get those kinds of picks against Sky Sniper, and now Boise State has a green light. Can they take back the fight as a whole as Blinn College retreats? They're going to use the overclock and the sound barrier trying to keep them alive as Sky Sniper comes off of his respawn and can rejoin the team for a full team fight. But Plato takes out Zaidu. Boise State gets the other DPS, and now they're focusing on a 7. He gets taken out, and Boise State moving forward with a 1-team fight and a wipe against the Buccaneers.
See, this tempo control right now is so important. That shot, that single shot onto Sky Sniper, going back into the neutral and having the ultimate economy that Boise State has is one of the most key, I would almost say, map-winning moments here, is that could be the pivotal shift, but this pickup onto Plato is going to also make it very challenging.
It's been a question of which Sojourn lands the shot. 1 pick and Boise State retreats. But just in that 1-1 team fight, they managed to gain more ground than Blinn College got by winning 2 team fights.
And they're back in it. All 5 are here. Again, you've gotten back to this neutral position. Heavy dive onto this back line. Unfortunately, can't get Zaidu.
Oh man, they're putting everything they can onto Zaidu. Oh, down by 1 and still finds it, despite the Orisa trying to body block. Boise State gets the first pick onto Zaidu, and now Blinn goes retreating again as Boise State regains ground, trying to catch out Sky Sniper in the alleyway, trying to force off all the micro missiles they can on around the corner, trying to go into the back line as Kitsune Rush and Terror Surge is spent into the back line, throwing everything they can onto that Orisa, who picks up Chosen. It's traded back with a pick onto Sky Sniper, now going after the supports. Does that? Nope, doesn't have the Suzu to bail on out of there, and Boise State picks up another 2, and if they get this Sojourn, which they do, will win the team fight.
And again, it all comes down to that pick. And again, even though they lose Plato with Zaidu coming back from the spawn, they've gained enough advantage in distance and keep this pushing that they were always going to be able to swap back to the neutral fight, and they get this absolute ferocity that comes out of Clear, just blowing everybody up, and is such a vicious player on the back line and really knows how to use the architecture here to take the advantage.
Bubble forced out onto Chosen, and Zaitu lands the shot onto Matmer. It's traded back though by Plato. Still anyone's game as Boise State moves in. Bagel got taken very low on health, is going to be able to survive. Boise State has some high ground onto Blinn as Thesaria's trying to bubble everyone around her, keeping the Lucio alive, and the team regroups, and now Thesaria's all charged up. A dangerous side for Boise State to be sure they're going to use their Kitsune Rush and their self-destruct to try to clear things out. They don't pick up an elimination. They are still contesting the robot, not giving any ground over toward Blinn. And Plato gets the first pick onto Shadu. Sound barrier out for Boise State. Blinn College, they can't use theirs now. And Hutch follows in afterwards. No more supports, no more healing. Can they get rid of the tank and the 2 DPSs? They're still hanging in there because they've retreated, and Boise State will get forward spawns.
That is a wild buyback into this. Again, that's one of those moments where it separates the good teams from the great teams. When you're able to come back from that, even though you lose one, you could have opted to go back to the neutral, as we're seeing now Boise State do that. But they kept in that because they had a massive plan and will once again get back to a neutral. And another key factor here is they reached the checkpoint. That is so huge. And even if Blinn is able to get to the checkpoint themselves, they still have that re-engagement opportunity as they enter back into the neutral and still look to hold them here.
Now has the Graviton Surge online. Mathmer holding on to his Pulse Bomb. Also have the Kitsune Rush coming on very soon for Blinn College. Plato going to have this overclock. Who's going to lay? It's been Plato or Zaitu. One of them gets the first pick. And if it's Zaitu, then Boise State has usually had to get a pick right afterwards to trade. Like right here, Zaitu, Boise State in the next few seconds going to get the pick to even this back up. They're going right after Zaitu, trying to land the knives and heal up their tank. But it's Shadu continuing to put pressure on to Boise State. Now 2's down, and Boise State is having to reset as a whole team.
They're going to get one last shot. It's going to go into the checkpoint. But it's so close that you have to have Boise State get there after the checkpoint is being reached, because at this point, if they take the fight before it's reached the checkpoint and they lose it, they will not get a second buyback into this. So now they're going to have to wait. If this pick comes through, that's huge.
Oh, they're able to force out the recall, and another shot onto Sky Sniper's low on health, has to regroup with the team. And all the ultimates are being spent. Kitsune Rush, Graviton Surge, and the Sound Barrier trying to keep Blinn in it. Sky Sniper lands the first pick onto Chosen. Will Boise State even it up? 7 comes through, a fully charged up Saria. But Boise State has taken the robot back. They're regaining ground in this fight. It's on the way back to the middle of the stage. Boise State might just get a chance to reset once more.
Oh, it's going to be so close. That's a big heads-up play. But these staggers, oh no, that's going to be so tragic. Though they should be able to... It's going to be on to Plato's spawn timing. They only have 5 meters to work with here. They are going to be able to get a chance to contest this, but they have to jump on it immediately, and they need to get at least the pick quick enough. They've only got 3 meters to touch it.
And they're moving on in with their Sound Barrier, trying to keep them alive. That Zarya fully charged up, and the overclock coming out from Blinn College. Boise State has to win this team fight to be able to take it and move it on to game 5. But Solo on health clear goes. He has to move on back freely. They're trying to heal him up as much as he can and still contest this payload. They move on in, trying to focus on Zarya. Pull bomb onto Blinn Zarya. But Clear also gets taken out. Both takes are gone for both teams. Or the DPS is going to clutch it for each team. A trade back and forth between Sky Sniper and Matt Merck. But Zaitu gets the pick on Large Bagel. And that just might be the final one as Plato is trying to stay alive. But now has to go in a 1-on-2. And Blinn has just taken the lead.
Oh no. Now with this last few seconds, they guarantee to pick it up, and the staggers are too few. The 10 seconds now remains, and they're just staggering onto the point. And even if they swap it back, that means that they have at least 2 fights that they have to win back to back here. And they have no ultimates outside of Plato with the overclock.
And Zaitu lands the shot right onto Clear. No mercy, Blinn. Overtime ticking down. Boise State is able to get the contest, but 7 gets the double. Plato lands one with the overclock, but it is not enough. Chosen's the only one who could possibly get a touch. He doesn't, and that will end this match with Blinn taking the victory 3-1. But it came down to the last push. Oh my goodness.
A worthy attempt. It was one of those moments where, and Plato's even going to get play of the game, a huge recognition as well, despite them not being able to take it. And it all really anchors off of that recall being forced down the stairway before the last fight. it was a moment where you had to make the decision of, do you opt to try and chase and eliminate the Tracer who no longer has the recall and 2 dashes down, or do you cycle back to the high ground and try and focus on the primary fight? And unfortunately, the decision that was made to chase the Tracer did not quite pay dividends. So again, it's those subtle differential moments that create such a massive effect in the rippling of the water, but ultimately still have to give massive credit to Boise State and what they've been able to do competing against Blinn, who really did put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah, what an end to the season. And Blinn, best of luck to you going. You got to face St. Clair next, so no breaks at all. I'm going to be curious on how that fight turns out. But at least Boise State will be able to say that they managed to take a game off, which no other team in the postseason has managed to do.
Absolutely. That's something you should definitely be keeping in hand. But there's also still always more Overwatch to play. That's the most important part, is when it comes to this semester before their graduation, they have a lot more competition ahead of them, and you just take this, you learn from it, you adapt, you apply, and you come out better on the other side. So.
Speaking of more Overwatch, we have Mountain West as well. But before we get to that, we'll leave you with the top 5 plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have a multitude of positions which offer a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. So head on over to iGuard Idaho on Instagram for more information on how you can live here, work here, but also serve here with the Idaho Army National Guard. This will be Jem and Rich signing out for now, leaving you with the top 5 plays and back with the Mountain West match in a few minutes. Boise State with a crucial double in the first fight is going to take the flash point for themselves.
Massive take here.
Baby Diva melee.
And Bagel, it's the 2 supports. They have to hold on to this for dear life.
And they land the boot, Lord Bagel.
With the double, taking out Sky Sniper. Boise State is still in this game. The support does that. Nope, doesn't have the Suzu to bail on out of there. And Boise State picks up another 2. And if they get this Sojourn, which they do, when they spent their immortality feels, we get in close quarters. Suzu forced out, but 7 gets taken out with the...
Going to give them the opportunity to neutralize this first engagement and should be able to have... Oh
my goodness! The railgun shot on the Sky Sniper, they follow...
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it.
We're going to build bridges and hospitals in a day. We're going to save families from disaster and feed those left in the cold. We invite you to join us. The next greatest generation is now.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Once there was a traveler whose feet never left the ground. With only his mind as his map and his senses his compass, he raced into the great unknown. Armed only with the speed of legend. His trails he blazed, his rivals he played. Every sprint a blur. Every turn trusting his allies. In silence he raged and waged with quickening, sickening speed. His name a chant filling arenas. Because some heroes leave footprints, others an afterburn. Without conflict, there is no resolution. Without verses, there is no victory.
Boise State Esports Arena. You are ready to join us for the second half of the Overwatch festivities of the day. We move on to a Mountain West match against Utah State. The Broncos ready to go up against the Aggies here tonight. End the night off on a positive note. I'm still your host, Jacob Palmer. I'm joined by Rich Rad, coming to us live right now, over the air and into the arena. Rich Rad, it's great to have you still with us. Boise State will move on to another conference, the Mountain West, one which they have been dominating in, undefeated up until now. They're going up against Utah State, a team that had a 3-0 loss against Boise State about a month ago on March 8th. So this would seem to be a match that would be in Boise State's favor, but they just came off of a really big loss too in the NACE Star League. So how do we get that sort of reset mentality going in and focusing on this new game?
I mean, we've seen Boise State be in places like this many times before. I've been able to see it when it came to Hugh Invitational many years ago in person, and then, in historic, being here with you and many others a part of Boise State, that it's one of those things where you just have to take a moment, you reset, it is competition, and that you just go continuing to know your opponent and do and play to your strengths, because there is so much that Boise State brought to that previous series that we had only minutes ago, and they were really putting up a fight. And I think as just of a month ago, you mentioned on the 8th where they were able to play against each other, just shy of a month actually, that you're going to see if there's any sort of evolution or development to compete against us. We've had a patch update. We've had some tweaks as well when it comes to buffs and nerfs. But going into this one, Mountain West, I think that Boise State is still going to be confident. They have been able to see this opponent before. They know the way that they play and the methodology behind their strategies, and I think can feel really confident nonetheless as we are going to head into those Doc's keys to the games for you.
In Overwatch, that's never to take a fair fight. That means to take fights in unexpected places when they are unprepared and try to build up that tempo. Brought to you by Drop-In Gaming, the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. I'm looking at that little icon for Dog. Those are some really old names on there back from the first season.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I saw Soulpan on there. He started out as a League of Legends player, of course, then moved on to a tank in Overwatch. That just shows how far back that was taken. But this is here, this is now. The Aggies versus the Broncos, ready to head on into Antarctica. Pay no mind to that diva in the lower left corner of the screen. Think of that as the camera.
I'll see a diva. I'll see a diva. None of us see a diva. That's not even there. That's all a figment of your imagination, friends. As we're going to be entering into this again, Antarctic Peninsula being a very unique one of the newer maps that we've had recently in the past years of Overwatch, and I think has always been a really great addition when it comes to the structural difference in comparison to each sub-level, also getting that more encapsulated area, which doesn't have nearly as much of a skybox and variety of selections that can come out. And once again, I highlight the one we're going to. Can somebody just give me a lottery ticket or a scratcher? I think I'm ready for it.
We're hot right now.
You're killing it too. You had a good one too. Yeah. You had a good one too on Night Market earlier, so we're both on our A game.
Where's the Powerball ticket? That's up to $1 billion right now. This is the time for us to buy.
Right? Absolutely.
All right,
We'll
here
split
we
the
go.
difference
Boise State, Utah State in the first team fight. Clear trying to land a few headshots on the Cassidy. We see Big is still in it. Boise State's been facing a lot of Orisa today on the enemy tank. We do see Daydream rotating in as support for Boise State. Skel's going to pick up the tank role on Sigma. A lot of damage being traded back and forth, but no one on either team falling quite yet, although Boise State's getting pushed down quite a huge bit, allowing Utah State to take the high ground overlooking the point.
A couple of great shots as well by Clear, unfortunately hitting the rail to get the execution, but Plato getting the pick up onto the Tracer is a massive win. And after the game that they just had where Tracer being so influential, they just want to get rid of Caps right away.
They're now going to collapse onto the Orisa, throw out the grenade. Clear takes so much damage. He drops down to 8. Can't wriggle his way on out of there, but Boise State wins the fight in terms of the tank. Accretion lands onto Sapphire. Big and small box follow soon afterwards. Boise State takes the point for themselves and is going to start that timer ticking up for them.
Definitely a better start to the map of Control in the second series, which again, after coming off of that map where they were put with their backs to the wall, can feel a little bit more of a moment of reprieve, knowing that Utah is someone that they've fought against before, played very dominantly, but still need to be cognizant of potentially any change-ups that can come through as they enter into this next one. A couple of very key ultimates already available, and soon to be 3 more by Boise.
Out the pulse bomb goes, and it lands right onto Small Box despite the immortality field. Boise State is 1 up in this fight. Utah State gets 1 to touch the point. They're already halfway there. Boise State moves on and is able to catch Sapphire out of position. Now they collapse down around Big. He is Big no more. He is gone and out of there. And Boise State keeps the point to themselves.
The tough part with Small Box is that they got hit by the pulse bomb. They were in the immortality field, but they dashed out because they were concerned that if the immortality field goes down before that pulse bomb does, then it's a 3-piece. So it's like you kind of sacrifice yourself for it, but unfortunately, you still lose yourself in it as the immortality was still there. So decision made, regrets were had though.
Oh, clear, landing one right through the amplification matrix. Picks up a double too. He's taking out Big and Small Box. Plato chipping in, taking out Roast Dog. Daydream picks up one on Sapphire, and Boise State in final fight territory. Looks like they've won that final fight.
Yeah, they're just going to play very, very far forward, deny any accessibility, whether it's a Boop coming out for the Lucio or trying to harass them to get into contention. There is one that still manages to get there, but the overclock actually could turn this.
And Big has made their way on toward the point. They've taken out Lyric and Clear. They're also sustaining so much damage. They're down to 1 and they're out thanks to Kel. They did manage to stall it out, though, for I think 3 of the Aggies were able to make it onto the point. And one of them gets the pick against Kel onto Plato. This is still a game. Aggies take back the point for themselves.
In the desperate moments, they were able to turn it back. They have a Kitsune rush, which is really important for Sapphire, because you're going to have the Flux come in. That's going to be the biggest ultimate here for Cal. If they're able to grab at least 1 or 2 and get an elimination, should be able to nullify this, but having that Kitsune rush is very helpful for them to cycle through and get another fight onto this point and get not only Rose Dog, but Cats with an ultimate for that final engagement.
Kel sitting on this Gravitic, gonna wait out the spin. Waiting out all the abilities of this Orisa. Then catches the tank up and then down, and there's no sound barrier to bail him out. Boise State has taken out Utah State's tank, is now focusing down to about half health. They're able to get rid of Small Box. The Genji blade comes out, but it does take out Clear, but is it enough to push Kel off of the point? That's a lot of damage being placed onto him, and Utah State, it's desperate times for them, but they found a way to stand toe-to-toe with the Broncos, but it looks like their luck might just run out now.
Yeah, Kel gets that clutch pickup onto Sapphire, who is really keeping that Genji alive. Had the, presence of mind to really understand that despite the Genji really going head first into them and getting that massive amount of damage, they just have to sustain and basically stem the bleeding and deny that healing to continue coming in from Cats, who almost had an opportunity of turning this around, as that's going to be round 1 going in favor of Boise State. Very worthy attempt here by Utah, not quite going in the direction they would like, but I am seeing that they are looking to bring these type of compositional adjustments. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't really been able to see Utah play as much of the Genji into what they normally like to bring to the table. And again, the Genji being a unique selection here and something that is finding at least decent value as they made the swap later on in this control point.
Moving on to the next stage, we're going to be moving on to Icebreaker. A little bit of
Penguin.
Yep.
I feel like such a kid whenever I see these penguins.
Right now, you know, you have.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I mean, seriously. Now we look at the Resolute and see what this first initial engagement's going to look like. And it's actually Big coming out on the Doomfist here. All right, they're going to couple this with a very heavy mobile composition to try and latch on to Boise State.
But Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? He goes right down to Lyric Sound Barrier. Cal and Plato then takes up another one. And that's a full team wipe, and yeah, that Doomfist is going to be swapped off almost instantly onto the JQ.
Yeah, no, that's a better route for them at this point. If they want to play aggressive and brawly, I think it's going to be more of a Junker Queen type of dynamic. I mean, you could also look to try and play the Orisa, but again, it doesn't nearly have that aggressive prowess. But that stagger onto Rose Dog right now is going to really spell disaster here. You no longer have that mobility for Big, who's going to be on the Junker Queen. It's going to cause a lot of delay on entry, and you're even going to get this side angle from Clear getting 3 shots until they're back to a full 5.
Boise State already taking a few snipe shots thanks to Clear. Magnetic grenade thrown out, latches on. That Lucio's pushed way far up. Commanding shout is used to keep the Aggies alive. That Genji trying to get right in the face of the Broncos. And then they just throw up the immortality field and say bye-bye to him. Plato gets the pulse grenade onto Smallbox. Rose Dog follows, and that's a triple picked up for that Tracer.
So, you know, I was highlighting the Baptiste play in the previous series. There is still going to be a lot of praise coming out from a Baptiste in this series, too. Daydream comes in clutch with a sliver of health for the team. And again, just the sheer amount of wherewithal for this Boise State team is so critical as they're going to try and deny this Kitsune.
Big just slams down right there. Rostock did not have the sound barrier. He had just used it. Oh, what a time to just use it and not have it when you need it.
Wasted. Absolute obliteration on Big with the Junker Queen. And now they go back to the Doomfist. Again, this is just where they're attempting to really try and figure out what the best methodology is here, but they have to opt to go into something heavy in mobility because they do have only 5% to go. And there's the blade again, seeing if Cats can do something with it.
He does do something with it. He is able to take out Plato. Clear follows. Full DPS is gone for Boise State, but his reign is ended with Cal landing the shot. Now he has to go up against the 2 supports. They're just going to try to boop him right off of the point. State respawns are going to start to come into the game. The Doomfist is sure respawn, getting in right towards and pushes it back off the point. Boise State is back up to a full team. Clear hanging on to a Deadeye, which could be what turns this fight around. But Big gets the first pick onto Kel. That's huge. Clear trying to even things up. He takes out Utah State's tank. No more tanks left on the field, and Clear has opened up a 2-person advantage for the Broncos, getting a triple for himself and securing Broncos icebreaker.
Daydream just like, nah, Clear, I ain't letting you have that 5-piece. I'm going to take that last one real quick as we finish this map up. Daydream's not letting it happen.
Very, very also fitting with the emote from the Baptiste right there. if you're still in a 5-piece from somebody, yeah, that's the emote you want to use.
Yeah, absolutely. As you can see again here, get in the quad. Just stolen away from the 5-piece, but it's okay. It's all in good fun and all in good favor, as we do see this first map of control going in favor of Boise State quite handily. Almost a moment of reminiscing to how it was back on the 8th of the previous month. So 3 weeks in time, things still feel just like home when they're competing against this opponent. But now that we're going to deviate away from control, curious to see if there is going to be any sort of adaptation as we enter into that different map type that is a little bit more formidable against Boise State.
Ah, man, that's a shaky prospect of adaptation, because if there was one thing that I saw from the Aggies, it almost seems like their DPS, especially their Genji, was like dead set on trying to dive in at any cost and just get that pick. Even if Boise State threw up utility that instantly took that off the table, it was that way or the highway.
Yeah, and again, it's really just, I mean, the other part too is it just feels a little shaky in some of their decision making and the type of strategy, at least they want to bring to this, because they opted, for a couple of different tanks. I think the Orisa of the 3, realistically, that they brought to the table was their most formidable, even though it was still challenging on that first initial round of control. But again, the Junker Queen just didn't quite match up, especially when you're moving into an ultimate rotation that does favor Boise State. The Doomfist, the positioning just was capitalized on instantly, and I think just needs to be a little bit more in a a review of how they want to enter into these fights if they're going to stick to the Doomfist. But we're heading on to King's Row, as you can see highlighted just down below. And again, no surprise here. And with this being a map that Boise continues to play so proficiently, and even when we did have our series that went unfortunately not in favor of Boise State, they really still do have an understanding of how to play the architecture of this map on that initial point and really look to deny an opponent. So I don't think that that's going to change at all going into an opponent like this, and probably feel very confident going into this to really be able to take that 2-map advantage and already force them onto a match point.
And they will have choice of what side they want to go on. The only thing that's different is we move from night to day in the previous match to this one, and Boise State will most likely be defending first. We'll get confirmation of that in just a few seconds. There's another look at the team on stage, another chance for production to show off these beautiful player camps that they've set up. That's another thing that's changed since the last match they had against Utah State. All sorts of new interesting assets being added all the time here at the arena.
It's always, again, like we talked about that last time. I was just like so intrigued by having it pop up and just the ever growing advancement when it comes to the broadcast, and it's always a nice little flavor. I was gonna say flavor text, but like in this case it's like flavor broadcast or flavor graphics or whatever it might be that helps kind of elevate it.
Ooh,
Oh, Plato's on the Junkrat. I'm happy. I'm so happy.
Well, if you're a Ramatra fan, you might also be happy with Utah State. They're bringing out a bunch of picks we haven't seen yet. Well, I was seeing
Cat's also gonna
different.
switch
Okay, Cats is changing out between hovered over the Doomfist, then the Reinhardt. Plato's just been content to say, you know what, whatever you pick, I'm just happy here in Hotel. I'm going to throw out my mine, put out as much damage as the Reinhardt is just trying to shield, make their way up through Hotel, pushing in as they round the corner onto the point, and Big takes out Plato. He also gets a double onto Lyric.
I mean, this Bastion play really makes a significant difference, and it's almost making me feel like it's old school Northwood from a couple of years ago with Mundata's statue. Like I'm getting some serious Bastion vibes right now, and going back in history, because that was a wondrous attempt and easy take here for Utah to have 5.5 minutes to enter into the streets.
Certainly a whole lot of time. We'll get a view. Also been a while since I've been able to see a Bronco really pop off on a Zen. We'll see if we can land any choice right clicks. It's been a while. This is a real flashback of a match.
And as we do see pushing through this archway, the space being taken by Cats is really important. And again, as I mentioned earlier, swapping from the DPS role onto the tank role to potentially bring an alternative wheelhouse worth of mechanical skill, but also just awareness into this map and seeing how formidable it's going to be. Big gets very low, but is topped up before they hold this corner on Bookstore.
Shield broken down. They have to duck down behind the payload as their only shield. They move in as the duplicate goes onto the Bastion, isn't able to charge up the artillery. What a shatter coming through, as well as the coalescence from Sapphire. They wipe out Boise State and are more than halfway to the checkpoint.
This is a significant buildup of momentum and really able to throttle. And again, this is where now Boise State might feel a little bit of that strain and stress, as we talked about from potentially the previous game. They came out on top on control. We deviated away from this, and this is what I was most worried about, especially since we do have, again, the adjustment in some of the roles and players here for Boise State to come back out on top.
Post bump right onto the Reinhardt despite the sound barrier. Boise State moves in with first blood. They can use to transcend itself, keep themselves alive as Plato lands a shot onto Big. Small box is next to follow. All the DPS is gone. Roast Dog gets one boop onto Lyric, but it's going to have to be the only silver lining of this cloud. Boise State gets a hold.
Yeah, that was so necessary. And again, it drops on the ground. But the fact is that because of the subtle shift of the shield placement, Cats gets blown to bits, and that sound barrier is a fraction of a second late. So now as we look into this next one, a couple of key ultimates, again, you are going to have the artillery that you need to be very aware of, but they might honestly look to try and stage with that so that they can find small box with a pick, as already Big gets one onto Plato.
Utah State Aggies have really started to bring the heat. Oh, the Orbit Discord was placed. I thought there might be a focus down, but no, they're going to be able to survive. We'll see if this gets anybody to self-destruct. No, they just hold up the Rhine shield and wait that one on out.
And Kel gets taken out before he can reback. That's going to allow Utah State to claim the checkpoint.
Was that a melee swing? I'm so not sure of how that happened, but somehow Cats manages to get that pickup, and that's the googly-eyed payload still moving into Furnace with 4 minutes and
well, it would be moving.
If they're actually touching
someone,
it, but, you know.
Whoever's the owner of a googly-eyed payload in a parking spot you haven't paid for. Clear has made a change over onto the Ash. We've seen artillery be brought out by Big. And it helps take out Clear. He gets a pick. Big has really been coming alive ever since he started out on this Bastion.
He has been wrecking through, but one Bastion deserves another to duplicate. Plato just melts him down in one clip.
And then Smallbox comes through. Oh my goodness, he turns it all around with the Death Blossom. I cannot get to the end of any single sentence in that last fight without both teams sweeping it back in their favor.
I mean, the biggest concern now is the way that Utah is playing aggressively, holding into the spawn point. They're just approaching the final meters. They've bought enough space, and the Earthshatter denies that checkpoint.
Plato does get the touch. They're going to move on in. They're trying to provide some healing. Smallbox gets the pick on to Kel. No tank for the Broncos. Plato then drops, and they take 3 points with 2 minutes, 56 seconds left on the timer. Utah State, where were you doing the first game? You have come alive on Kings Row.
That's a wicked change up here. Like, different team, it looked like, with their composition, and it has to be responded to. It feels like the Tracer from the previous game, who was the kryptonite to Boise State, Big is doing that on this Bastion. And realistically, there needs to be a hard focus to deny the value that this Bastion is bringing to the table. There were a couple of occasions where they were able to stifle for a moment, but shortly after, whenever they get back into it and just are able to gain some space, that Reinhardt is giving so much room for this Bastion to succeed. And even on that, the Reinhardt's still bringing in a lot of worthwhile value, even though it's one of those tanks that we don't get to see nearly as much, because a lot of the competitive play, it revolves around other tanks anchoring with the type of composition that you bring to the table that's just far superior.
Boise State now all of a sudden was going from being so confident that of this being a sweep is now going to find themselves on the back foot. The pace that the Aggies set for themselves was a 1-team fight win. I think it was 5 minutes 35 seconds-ish, 25-35. It was up there. All right,
we do see them enter out.
First time today.
Yeah, Boise State with the Ram is going to be interesting. They've got the TP. They're going to try and dash onto this quickly with Plato.
Well, the Sigma's going to be happy to just soak up all that damage for now. Kel moves on in. And then now start using the pummel right onto the tank, but it's not doing too much damage. Instead, he gets taken out by a Sapphire. And that pick already throws the Broncos off of the pace that the Aggies had on their attack. Plato trying to even things up with the Bastion, gets one pick onto Rose Dog. Not sure it's going to be enough, but Lyric's going hunting.
Making sure to top up Plato as they're all alone up top. Slow and steady AoE healing for the win, but those grenades are going to make it real hard.
Yeah, Utah State has already called out that position.
Oh, he almost picks it up, and at the last moment,
Utah State manages to wriggle away. Boise State, though, with all this distraction, has claimed 2 ticks off of the point. Clear picks off Cats and Sapphire. Artillery being used by Boise State to make sure that they get this payload by hook or by crook. They're going to get it, and that time is now.
Yo, Plato just single-handedly changes that entire outcome. Like, the fact that Lyric gets up there and heals them, and then now is just pumping out free damage because everyone's focusing on the objective, that's huge. And Plato literally had, at the end of that, like 1 HP. So again, everything relies on that capitalization and just awareness of placement and timing to get the advantage with 4 minutes and 30 seconds, almost identical to what Utah had on their attempt earlier. And we'll see if they can bank just as much time close to this 3-minute marker as we've seen already. And Plato looking to do the same thing to Big.
He's on fire and keeping the pain rolling. Photon barrier spent by Boise State. Gravitic used by Utah State. But Boise State just beats in response to that. Clear takes out Rose Dog. Sapphire soon follows. Clear gets a double. Daydream chips on in. Daydream's been having a way of getting these eliminations right at the very end of the DPS. Is not letting them have all the glory.
What's up?
You know, it's also been a while since I've seen Clear play Symmetra, and that beam damage from
Yeah,
him is
we're
just
seeing so
disgusting.
many throwbacks here. I mean, seriously, if a sixth player joins in for either team, I wouldn't be surprised right now with how much of a flashback this has been. Meanwhile,
I mean, they did just recently implement a game type to do that, so, but this is where Utah's going to try and come back.
and now the Gravitic gets Cats, and again, because Utah State used the sound barrier in the last round, there's no way that they can counter that Gravitic this one. There's now just 2 low health heroes left trying to block this payload, but Smallbox, my goodness, gets a double onto Cal and Lyric, and just him, he swaps it around and puts Utah State back in command.
Nice chance here. Big gonna look to try and get the advantage as Plato has to abandon ship, but has more than enough time to regroup. And they funnel it with 3 minutes to go now. The amplification matrix is something that they can really lean into to funnel damage, especially with Plato going to be having this turret up in just a moment to see if they can get a cheeky pick before these ultimates start getting online. Artillery's actually coming in from hot.
A lot of area of effect damage being placed out right now. Nothing to show for it. Oh, Smallbox, he gets taken out in his Death Blossom. Lyric, the ultimate spoiler to the Reaper. You love to see it. But Big also loves to see this double he's already brought up. Clear, forcing him back. This is a lot of ultimates, a lot of time spent, and nothing much to show for it for the Broncos. They're getting pushed back, if anything.
Yeah, again, Clear was trying to really play on a knife's edge there, swinging between both sides of that wall to deny the auto attacks from Cats to see if they can get enough recovery from the support line to be able to actually come back into that fight. But they contribute so much, as you mentioned, and now they solely have to rely on the support ultimates. Kel having a flux soon. They need to evade this as they've got a minute 50. Nobody can get picked up here, and look to see if they can find a big advantage with that one. What? The annihilation?
My goodness, Utah State. This is a scary sight. He's managing to survive, but the accretion goes right onto him, and Clear takes him out soon afterwards. Boise State is now fighting back. Utah State spent everything they had, but it's constantly been Big. Boise State moves forward. Big takes him out. They want to try to find him.
Highway robbery.
Plato gets the pick onto Smallbox.
If Cats lasted any longer in that and actually lived, I would have said highway robbery. Like, hands down. And you're going to see now the last moment stragglers are going to get overwhelmed. And that's going to be Kel looking to try and eliminate 2 with this flux.
Now it's just this Doomfist left to fight for himself. He's eliminated. Boise State keeps things going. They make it to the checkpoint. Already, Utah State has guaranteed more time for themselves in overtime.
That's the big thing I was focusing on at this point. Now it's just Boise State needs to complete with time. They have to be able to do that because it is so vital with 3 minutes on the clock from Utah, which is still a massive time bank to work with on the opposing side with how quickly they move through Streets phase. Oh, goodness.
Smallbox takes out Clear. Plato's also getting forced back. He has the artillery to use. He'll go back, take a breather, and now use it right around the corner, trying to take out Cats. Smallbox lands one onto Plato, though. And this DPS from Utah State being such a key difference in holding Boise State at bay. Cal and Cats both get elimination for themselves. Another trade back and forth with Clear using his barrage to pick up Roast Dog. But Utah State is matching everything the Broncos are throwing at them. Lyric gets taken out, and that'll be another hold against the Broncos.
Play-Doh getting a couple of decent staggers, but again, the spawn advantage is in favor of Utah. This payload's going to push, but it'll most likely be neutralized around the corner, and especially with the artillery, this is going to make it even more challenging to push through as they look for an opportunity. The Daydream swap onto the Moira is helpful, utilizing the Coalescence aggressively, also having some nice evasion if necessary for that turn. With only 60 seconds to go, Boise State has to be careful.
Oh, they catch out a Reaper teleport. He's off from the rest of his team and below half health, just holding on. And just to survive. Talking about just holding on, there's just a minute left for Boise State to push forward. Clear against pick onto small box.
Big
Cats
stun,
follows
big
through
stun.
afterwards with the big rail gun shot. Play-Doh picks up a double with 2. Boise State clearing out the rest of the Aggies. Do look like they will drive this on into overtime.
Death Blossom comes in for contention, but the sound barrier's there with the overclock. They could be able to just deny them to an overtime.
Oh, it is. They are so close. They need to take out the tank fast. They do. And there's now just 8 seconds left. Can anyone get a touch? No. Boise State will get a full minute added to their timer. They could still do this.
They can definitely still do this, but again, with only 60 seconds in comparison to 3, that is very challenging. You're hoping for potentially getting an ultimate economy that you can work with in 60 seconds to at least try to counteract against it, whereas now, again, being against a 3-minute clock, that gives 2 potential rotations, depending upon how quickly you can get those. And again, since it is also 60 seconds for Boise State, they will be having to attack first with a lower time bank and seeing if they've made any adjustments to try and take the advantage and maybe clear coming out on this far out the gate versus towards the later half where they made the adjustment in that middle phase.
I've seen plenty of full pushes with just a minute left in overtime myself, so Boise State, they've certainly been in situations like this. We've said that a lot of times, but really, if there's one thing you know Boise State for, it's being in positions where you wouldn't normally think of them to win, but they find a way to. I'm not just trying to find another excuse to bring up the 2007 Fiesta Bowl, but as a proud Boisean, I am going to bring that up whenever I can.
You have every right to. I give you major credit for always bringing it back up. You should just have that like stapled and plastered like that date on like every time you're casting, just to always use that.
Yeah, put a sticky note instead of a lapel pin.
Absolutely.
Sticky note. All right, we gotta love the Ramatra with the googly eyes. It's just perfection.
It just puts a grin on my face every season, every time we get to this point of the year. Because now with 60 seconds, 45 now remaining already, Lyric needs to be very careful here as they work towards any ultimates, and it's going to be really challenging with already Utah taking the advantage in the economy.
They were going for a bit of a sneaky route. Magnetic grenade through the hotel, lands it, gets Sapphire, and a whole bunch of healing gone from the Aggies. Boise State moving forward. They've lost Clear in the process, but they still have a one-person advantage. Daydream providing some backup to Kell, helping take out Smallbox on the point. Gets another pick onto Cats. And now Boise State will, in fact, get the payload. And as long as they stay on it, they can have a good possibility of driving it all the way.
If there is any player you take out, it is always the main healer. And Clear comes up huge with this take right now, getting rid of the Baptiste. The throughput healing, the area of effect, and also just the immortality field, get out of jail free, was the most critical player you could have picked up. And that's a really big blunder for Utah as we enter into the overtime and just see how far they can make this payload push.
Head on into the archway. No ultimates to slow down. Zone out. Boise State trying to focus down Smallbox. He's so low on health, but he manages to escape. Clear going down to half health. Daydream has his coalescence, so a whole bunch of support and healing they can provide. They'll bring it out. So Boise State can push through the archway. Gravitic lands onto Cats and forces out the sound barrier from Utah State. Now overclock popped by Boise State, trying to put everything they can onto Cats. Boise State has lost Lyric, but Cal comes through with the double to take out Big and Roast Dog. Boise State has made it through the choke. Can they take out the rest of the Aggies? They brought out Bob and
Shatter
placed onto Boise State, but it's not going to be enough. Boise State now bodying this grind. Dragon Strike as soon as it comes online.
Boise State has used everything, but they've made it through.
So here's the thing is you had 4 characters swap in composition from Utah. So the additional percentage of ultimate economy that they gained, they lose because of that swap. And then the fact is that Boise State has the ultimate economy advantage, and then they persevere through it to now take this distance. This is once again just really things falling into place for Boise State, where despite them being at a disadvantage, they make absolutely everything out of it with a shot like that too.
Clear. One headshot right onto Big. Gets another one onto Small Box. He's taking on both DPSs and taking them both out. Plato gets the last shot, but Clear, being the main playmaker off to the side, completely catches the Aggies off guard. And that's going to be 0.5 gotten for the Broncos.
Yo, this, you know, I got to give you credit. You were absolutely right, where it's just like, you know, things can happen. Boise
Again,
State
the
pushed
general
into the
call.
corner.
The general trend of today, we call it, it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with it as we see the overtime still active. This is one hell of a home run kind of play. Hail Mary if I've ever seen it. And now as they're in the final stretch, will they be able to actually get completion on this?
Boise State never Hail Marys. They're always Statue of Liberties. And they lift just like the Statue of Liberty right up into the air. Slam taps down to the ground. He's so low on health, the aggression put onto him. And Plato lands one with the grenade. Also onto the Moira as well. Boise State is clearing out the Aggies. There's just a few stragglers left, and they take them out now just like that. That's going to be a heck of a stagger placed onto the Aggies. Boise State moving on in. They had just 1 minute, but they just might claim all 3 points that they possibly could here in overtime. Daydream and Plato both get 1 pick. Sapphire's trying to stay on in there, but that is it. I called it 1 minute all the way to the end.
I'm absolutely floored right now. In sheer mesmerization, you can see in the player cams how they're even blown away that they are able to get it. And they're just sitting, look at it. It's just like, yo, we just did that, fam. We just did that, fam.
Yeah, the smile on Clear's face. Y'all see some of Daydream there, too. What an overtime push. And now, yeah, Utah State. But hey, they pushed forward so fast in their attack. The first time they pushed, they got it there in less than 3:49. So we could be going to 6-6 for all I know.
I got to comment on this. The sheer amount of mental that's weighing onto Utah right now after that, I don't want to be in their seats. No. Like, that's rough. That is so rough. When you're trying to sit here and try and get that out of your head, that they had 60 seconds for a full completion throughout an entire overtime. Not a single fight win in that. That's, whew. All right, here we go, Utah. What do you got for us, fam?
3, 2, 1. Attackers in.
I just got to take one more deep breath before we get on in. Looks like Utah State still has the Bastion. Big, he was the main playmaker. I'm going to be looking to him to see if he gets any early picks. They charge right through the choke point. At least that Sigma does. But Big took so much damage he has to duck back. And it keeps Utah State from pushing through. There is a flank, though, by Smallbox off into Hotel. And does manage to take out Plato. Clear evens it up with the Storm Arrows. Through, trying to get Big, a few shots from Lucio onto him, and it's going to be enough to help Kel take him out. That'll most likely be a hold by the Broncos.
Yeah, first of many that you're going to need to see Boise State play. And the fact that they're able to get those eliminations and have the ultimate economy advantage is so critical to start staggering these out, as we've already been dwindled down to 3 minutes. How will they enter in on this? Vision gonna look to see where they're at. Find if they're gonna press into this. Shield to shield. But on the outside is Clear gonna find another pickup. That'd be huge. Oh no! Big gets a shot.
That was a heart attack right there. We were so looking forward to Clear finding a snipe. That Big just comes in and in a split second out-snipes him. One right click to end it all. Coalescence now by Utah State to help seal the deal, but they're walking right into a Graphitic use by Clow, and it doesn't really change things around. Utah State bodies Boise State off the point. The orb picks up Lyric, and Boise State has to move back.
Yo, Katz landing that accretion onto Kel is devastating. Kel cannot get the completion on the flux to try and counteract the coalescence. They most likely would have had enough into it, but the fact is that there's no presence of extra damage. Plato able to stabilize for the moment, at least getting rid of Sapphire so they can hold in this choke point and force them back to spawn.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I was more surprised about how still that Sojourn stood. Not that the pick was picked up or not, just I've never seen a target that still. But here we go, we're into the actual point, no harm, no foul, and Utah State making ground from the cell. They have a minute and a half left. You see it having so much and big. Hey, you know, putting me in my place, just saying, hey, I'm still very much of a threat. Takes out Daydream.
There's still a lot of distance to cover here, though, and there's 4 ultimates online for Boise State. They honestly, at this point, could just really allow the payload to push all the way for the last 60 seconds, unleash the entire quad, but they don't even need to. Clear's going to get a pickup like this. It gets a huge stun for Plato to follow up onto it.
And the beauty of it is, once they get all that time down, it could seriously just be a matter of when that Sigma finally gets his Gravitic again and can just win the match entirely off that.
Yeah, Cal just got it. Like, that's how quickly they've been able to get it from the middle portion of that final fight to now just around this bookshop. 40 seconds. It is a dire moment right now for Utah with what they have.
They do have a lot of ultimates. Smallbox coming online with his Death Blossom. They're going to hold back, strategize, look up to the heavens, wish good luck from whatever powers that be, and then charge on in. But
No
puts a
shot!
stop to their hope with the shot onto Big, and Plato comes through with the overclock, taking out Smallbox. Now Rostock, Boise State, completely destroying Utah State's hopes and dreams. They push forward all the way with just a minute, and now they get a hole in street to end it all. 6-4 on Kings Row.
That is a feels bad moment. That arrow. Oh, yeah, there's no way they're gonna come back into this. If that's a Hail Mary of a hell of a play if they manage to think that. But that was a tree trunk worthy shot with the damage boost from the amplification matrix. That snowballs this entire moment and is going to completely deny Utah from getting back onto this point. And despite them having a massive time bank and a swift run through this map for the first time, they are absolutely stifled and bewildered in how this just got stripped away.
Kel's still got a bit of a smirk on his face just
Oh yeah,
how this turned out.
oh my god, I wish I could go into game and just see the angle of how pixel perfect that shot was onto the Sojourn play. Like, my goodness, that's just debilitating. And going into this next one where you are putting yourselves on the perfect, like literally, that is the perfect way to execute onto Kings Row for Utah. And then they absolutely get floored. Here it is. We get the, oh my, no way. There's just no way that happens. Like, that's absolutely disgusting. And you're just broken. Like, I guarantee you, Utah at that moment when that pick comes through is like, yo, fam, we out. Yo, fam, we out. Like, that's it.
I really can't add anything. I don't know if all those Gen Zers up on stage are going to get this reference. I'm mainly doing this for Doc because I know he'll get it, but I can only be, I can only be the Ed to Boise State's Johnny and just, you push through in just 1 minute. I give props to you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, seriously, God, that was so wild. That was so wild. I actually have no words for that. And with us looking and watching, if you, like, I talked already about the mental being able to just push the whole thing and complete it, but then you're putting extra strain like this. It's almost like taking a wound, putting rock salt in it, and then like wrapping it with barbed wire. Maybe I'm pushing too hard on this subject. Maybe I should kind of reel it in, but that was just what I thought. It's rough.
I was wondering, because the first match tonight was so close in a lot of ways. They fell short. That's one of the main things that always kind of puts me on edge is, can teams recover? Can teams? And, Cal, I mean, I would say just right there, that's the answer to my question. That's the answer to my question right there. I don't need to say anything else.
Thumbs up, GG gamer. That's the whole thought process right there. But now we're going to go into a match point, and Boise State has been able to completely turn this around in the previous map. And if there's ever a moment where a team has to really just have almost like an out-of-body experience to not allow it to affect them, it's Utah in this moment. Like, you have to just somehow dig deep to say that last map literally didn't happen. Like, period, end of statement.
They have surprised us multiple times throughout this match, driving Kings Row farther than we ever thought possible, and on a stage that can be as snowbally as Servasta. I mean, you saw how much Utah State pushed after they won the initial fight on Kings Row. If the same plays out here for Servasta, we could be here a while. We might see push 2 times tonight.
We'll see if they're able to pull a rabbit out of a hat, because I feel like the wizardry and magic that was once there by Utah has been snuffed out, and the trick's been revealed.
Easter's already passed, so all the rabbits are already accounted for,
right?
So there's
They're
no
all
more
gone.
to pull.
3, 2,
Yeah, no, they all went back. They found their eggs and are peacing out, as we're going to see this push now into the central position.
mark it.
And again, that initial neutral fight, taking this first flashpoint is so critical, as we do have another shift, and the Echo comes to the forefront.
Clear immediately gets focused down, has to move on back, get some healing. This fight taking place. Oh my goodness,
Okay,
Clear
though.
gets the
Okay,
pick on
though.
a small box, immediately shuts down any comparison between the Echoes. But big on the Bastion, what more can you say? Takes out Daydream and still makes this a 4-4. Can Clear move on over, and Boise State has such mobility, they're able to casually move over to the point and take it for themselves.
I mean, the big thing here is that they're bringing Malka to the table, and with the patch updates that have recently happened, it's, you know, been a little bit more corrected in the damage and the ability use, but right now that focusing beam is looking to take out Sapphire, but barely able to elude the damage as it swapped back over to Utah.
Only 20% gained by Boise State off that first push, but they've trapped Utah State down there with the health pack. The Aggies will be able to get on out of there thanks to that Moira just helping them push right through.
Yeah, the focusing beam also just disintegrating the health once you're below that 50%. Though this big damage onto the Malga play, Cats has to be careful.
I don't know if he can, yeah, he does manage to get on out of there. And now we see the
feel like Cats
duplicate
just
be brought
teleported.
out onto the Moira. Can Clear build up a cage match? He's played tank plenty of time. He's no stranger to playing on the Malga. Can he actually do it? He's up to 93. Clear lands one. Plato uses the overclock. He gets taken out before he can use the cage fight, but it's no difference whatsoever. It's a full team wipe on to the Aggies.
Nice job all around. And again, even though the cage really doesn't manage to do too much just because of the duplicate going to be removed, the fact that you're still able to lock them in there even just for those few seconds and they cannot leave that space, it really focuses that viewing point of where Plato needs to look for those shots and just restricting them from escaping and getting around the architecture that's necessary to block those incoming shots, specifically the rail. Because with the flux now available and also the sound barrier, Boise State's in a great position, and I would love for them to only have to use the flux. Even if that, they might not even need to with these picks.
Clear lands the focusing beam down onto small box. Accretion goes on trying to hit. Able to land the melee against Big. 5-player kill streak for Kel. Sitting pretty, and they're going past 90%. Will most likely claim this first point.
Biggest thing is again, I want them to carry these over into the next one. They'll be able to do so. They've forced back enough of Utah. I want them to see, oh, that's going to be rough, though. The rotation here is going to be really important if they can get out of it. The nice movement speed from Lyric gets the escape, and they should be able to actually get to the position first. And Clear's just going to keep peppering in damage. I'm so concerned he's going to get eliminated, though.
He is hanging on by a thread, and it's really... I would call that a wall bang if this was a tactical shooter. That was just right around the edge.
Now as they move in 10 seconds before this flashpoint begins, Clear's going to have to rush back onto the point, and unfortunately, since this rotation didn't favor Boise State as much, Utah does have point presence and will be able to take advantage of this, but if a wild shot comes in where they can get the elimination early, that's going to be key. Nice job like that!
Kitsune rush, and Boise State is moving in, but a cage fight has been used by Cat, but he is mowed on down, and Clear has duplicated him and might be able to use his own cage match sword afterwards. Daydream lands a pick, was the one who landed the pick onto Cats. Smallbox and Roast Dog follow soon afterwards, and now there's no one to use that cage fight on, but I don't think Boise State's going to be complaining too much.
Not too much. Not too much. They come out with 2 ultimates on top. Kel, again, specifically having the Flux, haven't really needed to use it. Keeps it for the 3rd fight now. Play-Doh going to look for the overclock for potentially trying to shift the momentum here. I do at least like a little bit of this adjustment in the composition. Smallbox recognizing that they need the hit scan to try and counteract Clear, who has been doing a great job, especially with the focusing beam, getting that execution onto the Malga, or even just big if they're close. And another moment like that comes in hot.
Oh my goodness, Play-Doh lands a double with the overclock, make it a triple, forcing the Maga to fall off the edge. A full reset, Lyric with one final boop onto Smallbox. And this most likely going to be 2nd flashpoint. Boise State, I've seen them in this position before, they're just going to make space.
Blink a couple of times and you miss that whole fight. That's how I felt for a hot second. As you see, this is the dire moment now. Last chance to try and touch it before entering into the last flashpoint, and Cats is already almost dead.
Manages to survive, but the question is, they're racing that
That's
Lucio,
big.
trying to get them to the point they'll be able to get the touch. And they get the first blood as well. Clear, it gets taken out, 5v4. Boise State, no! Lyric isn't able to escape, moving around the edge. Daydream, now awkward position, trying to keep Kel alive as they're getting flanked from the side. Just can't do it, stays alive longer than Kel, and is gonna wisely decide to get out of dodge.
Nice recovery here. Again, big pickup by Smallbox, recognizing that hit scan, specifically the Sojourn, is going to yield a lot more value, even than the 76, I feel. Just having that one-shot potential versus just the standard throughput damage from the 76. Also, that subtle, like, vulnerability that happens with the 76. You do have heavy movement, but it doesn't contribute nearly as much in comparison to the slide that comes in. But this pickup from Clear is massive to turn it back.
Oh, they just melt Cats right down on the point. And now there's just Sapphires left. He can't touch. Boise State will claim it, and now they're just 1 point away from claiming the match, 3-0.
You know, even though this one so far, again, if they're on this point of being a 3-0, this has been extremely competitive. And the fact that Utah has been able to step up since last we got to see them, I think that's a major upgrade for them. And Boise State wants to close this out and not find themselves in a position where it's a reverse sweep opportunity. Now, as this transition, again, they have to be careful as the damage comes in.
Artillery used by Big to start it off. Smallbox lands the railgun onto Play-Doh. Boise State trying to regain some footing, rotate over toward the point. And it will be claimed. They at least get the first touch, get almost halfway to claiming it. Kel using the Gravitic, gets the pick onto Smallbox, trade back onto Daydream as sound barrier used by both teams. Boise State gets one pick onto Big. They're trying to focus down Cats. He's below half health. And they're going off to the side to try to get this Lucio as well. It's a Lucio duel between the two. The Baptiste decides to insert himself into the conversation, but isn't going to be able to take out Lyric. One final blow by Clear gets rid of Sapphire, Rose Dog, and Cats. And Smallbox follow, and Boise State has the flashpoint for themselves.
That was absolutely ideal and perfect read on this situation. Clear goes for the duplicate onto the Lucio to get that second boost of healing, to generate also a massive sound barrier as well to help towards the tail end of it, because Daydream died early in that. They lost so much healing, so at least having 2 area of effect healers really bolstered the fact that they could recover on that point versus having to solely rely on Lyric alone.
This ends now.
Smallbox getting ready with the overclock. Moves through. Oh, Immortality Field doing work to keep Utah State alive. It wears out, but all of them were moving right up against the margins. Now cage fight spent by Cats, but just like last time, Boise State takes him out before he can get a single pick. Kitsune rush now by Daydream before they got taken out.
Boise State will definitely appreciate the buffs from that. Moving on in to clear out the point and possibly end the game as they pass 90% for Vidic onto the Lucio. He's not even going to be able to touch the ground because Plato has his number. They'll make space for themselves, and that will be it. One final accretion to keep the Doomfist off the point, and Boise State wins against the Aggies.
Yep. Even though it was a absolutely treacherous King's Row for Boise State, they managed to turn the tides, weather the storm, and have wind within their sails to get them through this to make it a 3-0. And again, you may look at 3-0, but this was still very competitive, as I mentioned, nonetheless. And hats off to Utah for their worthy attempt to try and keep this. And you can see all of them being excited. They're done. They've tapped out. They said, look, we got this. We don't want to see them again. We don't want to do nothing, but we just want to celebrate. And that's all that matters.
Boise State wins, has a lot to be happy about with that. We're getting close to playoff season. Yeah, and one wave to the camera as well from Plato. And Kel as well. As thank you. And then there's Daydream 2. I was wondering if all of them would follow up with a wave. But what I was going to say is that caps off week 11 of competition. There are just 3 weeks left. At the end of March, we'll end week 14 and then move into Mountain West playoffs. So, Rich Rad, we've seen a lot of great gameplay. Do you have any parting final thoughts for the twists and turns we have seen here tonight?
I mean, just as always, just constantly always keep your heads up. This is a perfect moment that we can say that when, you know, you come off of a loss, the players that did sub in weren't affected by it looking as a bystander, whereas the players that did still retain that position going into the second series kept that extreme dominance in their methodology of play and focus on those keys to the games, because that's why we always get to talk about it, because they are so important for success here for Boise State.
And one other thing, I got to give a huge shout out to Utah State. So many times when I'm talking about Boise State in a position where they haven't taken game, I've said the best thing that you can do is look at the team that you went up against, go over those VOD replays, and just focus on improving yourself for the next match. And Utah State brought the heat here tonight in a match that was a lot closer than any of us expected. So hats off to you, Aggies. Continue to improve. And I'm looking forward to more matches between you and the Blue. That's going to do it for us tonight, but we'll leave you once again with the top 5 plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. Invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. They have a multitude of jobs which offer a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. You can live here, work here, and serve here with the Idaho Army National Guard. Reach out to them on Instagram at iGuardIdaho. But this is Jem and Rich signing off for the night. Thank you for joining us, and have a good one. Onto a Deadeye, which could be what turns this fight around. But Big gets the first pick on to Kel. That's huge clear, trying to even things up. He takes out Utah State.
Hands down, and you're going to see now the last moment stragglers are going to get overwhelmed, and that's going to be Kel looking to try and eliminate 2 with this flux. Into this, shield to shield. On the outside, is Clear going to find another pickup? That'd be huge. Oh no! Big gets a shot.
That was a heart attack right there. Wish good luck from whatever powers that be, and then charge on in, but no! With the shot to their hopes, with the shot onto Big, and Plato comes through with the over. Oh my goodness, Plato lands a double with the overclock, make it a triple, forcing the Maga to fall off the edge. A full